All right, everybody. It looks like we're live. Let's get to the title slate there. Picture of dear old daddy. That's right. It's David Wilcock, and I am back with you. And we are live once again. I've got wild hair, which you know you're going to get that as part of the deal. Let's try to maybe make it a little bit less wild over here. But wow. Yeah, it's good to be back, you guys. Finally. Hey. Everybody says, yep, we are live. Sorry about the mix-up in the start times. That was an unintentional thing. We had it targeted for 2 p.m. Mountain Time, and it's actually noon. So it was 4 p.m. Eastern Time, but now it's actually 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Got a lot of people watching. Comments are going. Hey, David from Arizona. Hey there, great to see you. The blue shirt wins. Howdy, y'all. Reese! Pea baths, yeah, sure enough. Well, we all know what that is. Charlie Winter, happy Sunday, family of David. Glad you've been getting some time off. The last show you did, I noticed a piece about you. I'm happy to see. I hope your move is going well. We're working on it very diligently and distinctively. We've got 117 viewers right now. It's going to be a little smaller than usual because of when we got started, but that's okay. So, you know, everything is going really good here. Just checking you guys out, checking out everything that's going on. And it's great. It's great to be here. And so, yeah, we've got a great show lined up for you guys today. I feel really good about it. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I'm in my element. I want to thank you all for being here with me today. I'm really privileged. And again, privileged that you're here, privileged that you want to spend time with me today. Take time out of your busy schedule to be part of this amazing show. And all these cameras that I have, I get to talk to you from them from different directions here. We are glad David is back. Oh, wow. Dude, we're already up to 1,298 concurrent viewers with 333 views. That is amazing. Right off the rip, within minutes, we're at 1,300 views, which is certainly nothing to snuff at. So thank you guys for being here. This is awesome. I again want to apologize for the mix-up in our start time and tell you that I am very, very honored to have your support and encouragement as we do this show. So there's a lot of good things going on right now. One of the things that I can say that's actually a big positive is that Stavati is at our Miramar Air Show right now. This is in California at the Miramar Air Base. And this is a photograph from today of our actual booth set up with all the line cards and the poster in the background, models in the front. Additionally, we had another aerospace event that we all attended. I mean, I wasn't there, but we had our CEO, Chris Beskar, some other board members there. The Air Force Association event, this is a picture from that event. And once again, you can see we had the table, the line cards, the models, and we met many, many, many amazing people at this thing. And so this is all very positive for us, moving in the right direction. There you can see it with the lights on. So Chris actually drove cross-country to do both events, and we are meeting lots of contacts. We're having lots of great stuff happen, potential new sources of investment, all kinds of interesting things going on. And so one little quick plug that I'll just make is that we do still have room for 4 more investors at the non-accredited size, which means smaller scale investing. Not at liberty to go into all the details, but the way that this works with the 506 Reg D offering is that you just contact us at our website, stavati.com. We will give you more information on that. Richard Whitney donated $300. Wow, thank you so much. There it is right there. He says, as always, thank you for all you do in bringing us the truth of what is going on. God bless you. May peace, love, and light be upon us all. Richard Whitney, you are a hero. Thank you so much. We got the one from Charlie Winter already. Those are the 2 donations we've had so far. But yeah, really impressive turnout. I mean, considering what happened and oh my gosh. Mustang Debbie says, did everyone see the president's Truth Social from last night? He posted an AI-generated movie where he was announcing med beds. It was on for about 10 hours and then removed. Wow. Karen Merritt says, talk about the law of one, please. Archangel Michael lives within me. I am a chosen star seed. Well, that's awesome. And I'm glad that we are going to be definitely talking about Archangel Michael today. Joe Moreno, angelic being, David, looking back at your past videos, remember when you mentioned on your platform you're developing telekinesis? You were scared and cried and weeping. That is true. That did happen. Sometimes it's very humbling when you get a very powerful psychic experience like that. We missed you, says grateful to be on Earth. Well, I missed you guys too. I'm so glad that you're here with me now. Kenneth Bates donated $100 and says, hit us with the truth. Absolutely. That is what we're doing. That is what we're here for. We want to keep it real for you guys. They glitched you. Well, if you get any glitches, I hope that doesn't last. But yeah, Charlie Winter said, John Patrick says, I noticed the same thing about David's peaceful vibe. He did a meditation at the beginning last time. Hello from Canada, David. We are so happy that you are back. David, when is the Alliance stepping in? Well, I think it's already happening. Infrared Riding Hood. I forgot what David's smile does to me, y'all. I've been keeping him for you all have been keeping him for yourself. No, I can smile. It's just it's good to be here, and I'm glad that you guys are all lining up, and we've got 1,770 viewers. I mean, wow. I wasn't sure with the start time being all messed up if we were going to get that much of a turnout right away or not, but you guys have really showed up. And so Devant Cartwright says, can't wait to meet you, David. One day I'd like to be your friend. I've been a fan for a very long time. Purchased your first Ascension package back in 2018. Thank you very much. Keep bringing it, David, says Kim Barnes. We need you. I don't feel so alone in this world. Big fan from the early days. Kayla Lynn, love you, David. Thanks for your service and selflessness. And she donated $20. Crystal Sweeshoe donated $5. Thank you very much. And yeah, so things are good. We have a lot to be grateful for right now because the world is changing. And the things that we've been talking about on this show for so long, if you've been paying attention to the news, it's really, really all starting to blossom and flourish. I wrote an interesting show today. I wrote a show that covers a lot of things that give us a broad overview of what my work has been doing for many years now. And it's all part of healing your shadow because, again, the idea is I want to help you find the positive in today's world because, frankly, we are living in very frightening times. We have many upsetting things happening all at the same time. And this has profoundly affected me as well. And that includes, of course, the tragic loss of Charlie. So, yeah, there's no question that when something like that happens, people like me, Beverly Adams donated $10, says, so glad to be together again. Thank you. Obviously, it makes you more aware of your own mortality, right? It's like, wow, here's a public figure and we lost him. And it was done very dramatically. And so, yeah, that's definitely rocked me to my core. And we're hoping that won't keep happening, that there won't be anybody else. But, there could be. I mean, we're in the final stages of something. And so it's anybody's guess what's going on. And therefore, it's a scary time. I admit that. But, David, John Patrick says, David, do you know or did you dig into the tridactyl, three-finger, three-toe Nazca mummies? Allegedly quarter human DNA, quarter unknown. Too early to tell if it's legit or a DS disclosure hoax. Well, I've seen evidence that it could be real. I've seen evidence of people that was, going in the other way. So who knows? I didn't know that. Somebody said there's been 2 shootings just today. I didn't know that. Where have you been, Davey? Davey's probably not the first choice of name that I would go with, but anyway, that's awesome. I'm here now. Much love to all. We love you, David, and pray you feel all of our love. Thank you very much, Frank. And then I went to Ancient Aliens Live last weekend. We had some good disclosure discussions, says Mark Voidwalker. Little Tiny Joe donated $100. Says, awesome to have you back live. Thank you as always, David. You are our truth source and sanity. Any chance we can borrow 47 in the UK, please? Kayla Lynn, David, everything you say is coming, has come, or is coming. Thank you, Michael. Also, love is the answer. 3i Atlas, what do you know? Thank you, David. Says Gizmo's mom, donated $5. Well, we talked about that last week. We're not going to do that again. But yeah, in short, one of many weird things going on right now is this comet that looks like apparently cylindrical, and it's got a glow at the front edge, and it's going into the inner planets. It's got a 99.95% perfect trajectory on the way into the inner planets, and that looks like it could be intelligently piloted. So that is one of the very strange things that's going on in today's world. Sundays with David XOXO, says Kim Barnes. Eye of State says, okay, we are live and we're smoothing the wave. That's right. So, lots of good things are going on here. We're happy to be here right now. And lots of good things are going on. So I'm all excited about that. And we can keep the vibes positive here. Everybody should try to stay positive. For me, the work is about healing the shadow, which is the part of us that we are often ignoring. And we can become blind to our own shortcomings. So this is the real thing, when we look at how difficult it can be to just live in the world today, the shadow allows us to, the shadow is often hidden. The shadow is a part of ourselves that we're not really paying that much attention to. It's the part of ourselves that we don't love. Lack of self-love is a major part of the shadow. When we don't love ourselves, we lash out at other people who remind us of the things that we're not happy about. Edna Korinsky, looking forward to your message today. She donated $20. And we got Kayla Lynn, October 29th, a date prophesied by Casey, perihelion of 3i closest to the sun. Interesting. Joe Lopez, the truth will always set you free. So definitely have trolls today. The feed is glitching today, somebody says. I'm sorry if that's what's happening. Is anybody else getting glitches? It's only Linda Kiesling has said that so far. So lying to oneself is the essence of evil. I don't know if it's really evil. When I say shadow, I'm not necessarily talking about evil per se. I'm just talking about the part of yourself that needs more love and needs to be okay. It's okay now, David. Your feed is good. Perfect for Texas. No glitching, no glitching. Somebody says just refresh the screen. So smooth as glass. The feed is fine. It's good. It's fine for me. Okay, we got good confirmation on that. And I got lots and lots of hearts and candy and smiley faces and all kinds of stuff that just keeps continuously rising off of the heart button. I got 2 glitches, says Sammy Brown. But yeah, if you just want to refresh a little bit, that would be fine, and then it'll all be good. Only the shadow knows, bwahahaha, says Eldon Elder. We're okay now. There's just a few ticks. Well, we're gonna do the best that we can with this. Let me see if maybe I can move mine back a little bit here. That might help. Just for everybody else, I don't know. I tried that. The matrix is glitching. Feed is good, and David looks fine. Contact the physicist Nassim Harriman. Yeah, we are definitely buds. We've spoken in the past, and he's a good guy, and everything is good. So, 7 geometric thought forms, the donor of many sizzle jackets. I can tell David is totally focused, ready to teach the public. He needs to sell Angry Daddy t-shirts. I would buy several of them. Carl Simmons says, I am the glitch. So yeah, we're definitely going through hard times here, and I'm not going to lie to you about that. Everybody needs to step up and be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. And so facing your shadow, healing your shadow is a very good way to be part of the healing team for humanity's ascension and not allow us to keep perpetuating the same difficulties that we had before. How am I on volume, by the way? I'm not, when we say glitching, you're not getting any clipping on my audio. I want to make sure that the audio doesn't have any digital distortion because I pumped it up just a tiny bit higher, but it looks like it's staying in the yellow. Does it sound like a kazoo or anything like that? Okay, no clipping, says Edna Korinsky. Perfect, perfect, perfect. The audio is great. It's all good. Yep. So 3i Atlas, yeah, that's one of these weird things going on right now. promoted by the media that gives us a view into a higher reality. And I do honestly feel that seeing a higher reality is a big part of getting beyond your shadow, getting beyond that feeling of, you know, that you're lost, that there is no higher power. A spiritual approach can provide you with that healing that you need. And so, yeah, when you start to figure out that you're not alone in the universe and that there's this big, big, amazing spiritual reality that we're looking at behind the scenes, things start to get really exciting because we're no longer living in the Cartesian universe of dead, dry atoms that don't have any life or consciousness in them. We're now living in a conscious universe. It's made of loving energy from one infinite creator. And we're now up to 2,432 viewers. I mean, I'm amazed you guys have showed up. And, you know, there's a lot of good things going on here. So your voice sounds higher pitched than last week's show. Well, there could be a number of reasons for that. But I'm in a good mood. I mean, that's the main thing, is that I'm in a good mood here. So what we're going to do is focus on how we can be as positive as possible as all this stuff is coming out. There's a lot of things going on in the world, and we want to just stay as positive as possible, not get bogged down in negativity, because negativity is what drags us into our own, you know, thought loops that we don't want to get stuck in. We want to stay in the positive. We want to stay in the light, stay in the love, and not fall for this stuff that people want to throw at you. You know, it's all too easy today to feel like you're under attack, and we don't want to have that happen. So spiritual approach is very important, because as the intensity increases, it gets harder and harder to focus, and many of us are having trouble foreseeing a positive outcome. Now, you guys have watched my show for a long time. You understand what I teach. You understand where it's coming from. But not everybody does. You know, there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of dissension out there. There is violence on the rise, and with it comes stress and anxiety. So one of the things I like to do is to try to look at our current administration and see a positive silver lining that some people would have trouble seeing. And so I think that there's probably a lot of people right now who are afraid about what's going on. For example, they changed the name of the Department of Defense. It's now called the Department of War. And in the news, we've seen escalations occurring that are frankly troubling. People are wondering if there's going to be a World War III. What the heck is going on? One of the most provocative ones, of course, was 47 saying that we could help win back Ukraine and regain all the territory. This is like really, really intense. But first, let's just check out your comments again here. Hi, David. I'm watching from Cape Town. Nezzy Wildner said this. Traveled this journey a long time with you, but it's worth the wait. Much love and affinity. Somebody's saying, Stavati, conventional propulsion, what happened to UFO technology? We're doing both. We start out with the airplanes, and then we go into higher levels of technology later on. Linda Shelton says, your encouragement helps me. Thank you so much. I heard that about Atlas. It's a beneficial ship sending energy packets to the sun. October 16th, go out, sit in the sun, get a download. All right. So much love from Ohio, David. Glad you are back. So glad you are back, says Deborah Ouellette. Missed you very much. And Raka Skraza says, I wonder if you publish your books in paper form. Haven't done that yet. Maybe we will in the future. Juan Hong Chan, do you think a solar flash will happen before an Ascension event, rapture, or after? Well, we've talked about that before. But, you know, not really sure. The solar flash is a big, big topic. And it goes deep into things that I haven't explained yet. So we'll come back to that later on. It's been so long since I've watched you live. What a perfect topic for you to catch my attention, says Danielle Roby. Wow, we're at 2,588 viewers. You guys really, really showed up today, and I'm very appreciative. So anyway, check this out. It's like, whoa, what is going on here? He says that we can regain all the territory. Yep. Putin, this is part of the quote, Putin and Russia are really in big trouble. This is the time for them to act. In any event, I wish both countries well. We will continue to supply to NATO for what they want to do with them. Good luck to all. And then look at this right here. After getting to know and fully understand the military and economic situation, and after seeing the economic trouble it is causing, I think that they, with the support of the EU, is in a position to fight and win all of it back in its original form. Whoa! That is a very, very different marked departure from what we were seeing before. It's certainly provocative. It's like, dang. I mean, I think that that's going to scare a lot of people, and I think that it's going to make people think about World War III. Yeah, people say he's saber rattling. May the odds ever be in your favor. So look, the point is, these are the types of things that we're actually facing right now. This is actually in the news. And the original borders from where this started is very much an option. Why not? Time, patience, and financial support. Okay, so wow. There's lots of different speculation about why this is happening. My own personal belief is, once again, we've talked about in the past this concept of kayfabe, that you don't really see what's going on just because you think you do, that there's other stuff going on in the background that is not as obvious. It's like in wrestling, you got the face and the heel, and they actually work together behind the scenes. So what's really going on here? We don't really know. So I wouldn't be so quick to just assume that you take this on the nose as an absolute truth and just say, oh, well, that's it. They're going to make this thing go on and on forever. Maybe not. There could be another silver lining here. And I think that it's entirely possible. So if you want to read all this, it's talking about the economy collapsing. They are in big economic trouble. It's time for them to act. So who knows what's going on here? But the point is, we've talked for a long time about the idea that this probably, is not what it looks like. Nothing that you see is necessarily what it looks like. They say disinformation is necessary. So again, I don't want you to freak out. I know probably many people are, but based on what I've looked at over the years and how we've talked about it on this show, I don't necessarily think that what you're seeing here is what's really going on. It could be entirely different. Either way, this probably threw just about everybody for a loop, because he's also threatening direct shoot downs. That if anybody breaches the airspace of NATO, that they shoot shoot the jets down. And this would spark a World War III type of conflict, because it's not drones anymore. Woo! No big pressure, huh? It's like, dang. So that's why I said, healing your shadow, this type of stuff brings up your shadow side. This type of stuff brings up fear, anxiety, worry, and concern. And I totally get that. Let's see what you guys are saying. WrestleMania 2025, maybe it is for the waking minds. Angela Chartrand, yes, I had an experience at a grocery store yesterday. The customer behind me felt the need to move my cart and then grab my groceries. I tried to de-escalate and just wish him a good day. Dang. Healing through energy. People, our only job now is to raise our vibrational frequency, keep it high. Repeat this often. I am the light. I am the love. I am the truth. I am. Dark can't survive in the light. Repeat this mantra. We have Julian Perrone. Thank you, Jesus. You are with us, David. I've been feeling down. Your show is such a blessing. It picks me up, and I needed this. Thank you. That's really awesome. Kreeners recommending David Hawkins' book, Power versus Force. I've definitely heard that. Not scared, no fear. All is smooth here. We got 2,852 concurrent viewers. We are live, and this is pretty awesome. That's right. Kwan Hong Chan, David has covered in past episodes. The Archangel Michael says there will not be a catastrophic solar flash. I totally agree. There could be a solar event of some kind. That's part of the weird teachings that I've gotten over the years that we've been talking about, but I don't expect it's going to be catastrophic. But yes, we're going to talk about the solar flash a little bit later on in the show. So anyway, this is like pretty darn provocative. It's a great time to be vibing up, meditating, keeping your light pure. And then you guys probably are all over this too. The rare meeting of hundreds, literally hundreds, of different generals and admirals by Hegseth, the Secretary of War. A rare and urgent meeting. So again, what is going on here? Well, we just heard earlier in the week that there might be a greater escalation of war. He says, oh, they can take all their territory back over there. Maybe they won't have to lose anything. And so, yeah, it's troubling, right? It's a troubling time. It's like I got a little eyelash in my eye there. So, pretty wild, pretty wild to look at all this stuff and say, where is this taking us? What does this really mean? We don't know. Okay, so just to be clear, this is really, I got a big thing in my eye. Sorry. Just to be clear, it's a hard road. We don't always know where it's going or what's going on, but we take it one step at a time. We deal with it and we look for the truth behind the illusion. So, very, very provocative. And maybe it does suggest that a greater escalation is going on, but we're not really sure yet. So what might we expect to see in the future, you guys? And that's a big question. The answer is, sorry, my eye is just really bothering me. Something got stuck in my eye. See if I can get it out. Never had an eyelash quite do a number on me like that before. Okay. So, yeah, we're all working the process here of trying to figure out what is going on here. What is the deal, And I don't want you to be afraid. I do believe that there is a plan in place. I do believe that what we're seeing has a 5-dimensional chess going on, that there's different layers to this, and it's not all what it looks like. So don't fall for the negativity, right? Melody Hart. People forget 47 is a grandmaster chess player and also has worked as an actor. I do not believe that he is planning to do these things to help them take back da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, I would have to agree. So, we just got to look at it from all angles and try to see, the perspective I've shared many times in this show is still very much in play, I think. And so don't fall for negativity. Don't fall for, being in a fear-oriented space, because it can eat you up. And you don't want to live that way. You want to live in purity. You want to heal your shadow. The shadow is the part of you that looks at something like this and says, oh my God, it's so scary, it's so terrible. What's going to happen? Let's see if I can get it this way. But there's another part of us that exists in truth and love and realizes that we're living in a greater spiritual reality. And that's what really matters, is not getting focused on the fear, not getting focused on the anxiety, not getting bogged down in things that are going to hurt us and upset us, but to elevate our consciousness, elevate our love to a higher and higher level. So what might we expect to see in the future? There could be some type of war escalation. I mean, they've got the meetings going on, who knows? And it could turn out in a totally different way. So now we're also looking at these mystery drone incursions, and who is doing this? Is this being done by Russia, or is it somebody else? And again, we don't really know the answer yet, but this is part of what's on the whole profile of stuff that we're seeing. It says right here, Denmark alerts NATO after mystery drone incursions are disrupting their airports. Hybrid attack by professional actors. Now, is this a UFO type of event? Probably not. Doesn't seem like it is. This seems to be well beyond that type of, explanation. I think it's probably, my guess is probably the DS. But then they want to make it look like Russia, and it's just, again, more of this weird escalation type of stuff. Atlas Interstellar Boat Love Truth, says Brigada Kraliji. Kwan Hong Chan says, yes, this matches up with dreams I've had of bifurcating timelines of a higher and lower Earth. Wash your eye with a lot of water. Yeah, well, I did throw some water in there. And Trump posted on about medbeds earlier today, says Mystical Wonderland. Yeah, we saw that one. I saw it from somebody who already commented here. Sorry about my eye, you guys. Feels like everything is getting sorted out. 100th monkey is awake, holding the vision. We create the outcome as much as they do. I agree. 3,117 viewers right now. This is awesome. So yeah, let's try to be very, very key about what we're focusing on. And healing your shadow is learning not to delve into fear, not to go down into these so-called lower energies where your fear is predominating, but you learn to focus. Oh, I think I just got it. I did. I think I just got it. Yay. I could feel it. You can wash out your eye if you need to, says Paul Cannon. No, I think I literally just got it. David, this is it, says no, none one. Yeah, I mean, that the medbed video is completely AI. I think I did see it actually now. So anyway, life is good. I fixed my eye and we're better now. So anyway, not everything is scary and weird, because we did have him pushing back against this idea of annexation as well, where he says, I will not allow them to do this. Nope, I will not allow it. It's not going to happen. There's been enough. It's time to stop now, okay? Now that also, I mean, it's good because it's a move towards peace, but again, it could be seen as scary as well, because wait a minute, how do you not allow a military to act? What does that really involve? Does that involve the use of force? Does that involve forcibly pushing back on something? It could. So again, you know, we expected that there was going to be a time where everything kind of gets really heated up. These are from briefings that we got. I had them all the way back in 2008 about this so-called alliance, the idea that there is some greater organization that we don't usually see working behind the scenes, and it's working to try to bring peace and security to our planet. And, you know, it's very heavy, the idea that the U.S. military is involved, that there's covert aspects going on, the intelligence community, same thing, and that it's worldwide. And so back in 2009, I heard that they had identified that there was a secret organized collective of negativity going on, and that they were determined to expose it and push against it. And you guys know what that's all about. So they are actively doing this, and yet it required people like myself and many others to talk about it, because they can't put it out on the media, right? I've really been enjoying your comments, so I want to keep hearing from you guys as well. Questioning him is not fear, LOL. It's our duty to hold everyone accountable. I'm not on this weird idolization thing. Sorry. No, I'm not either. And, you know, it's very good to ask questions, and it's very good to think things through. But, you know, he also just said that they're pretty close to having a deal. So that's really, really positive. You know, we're not, the deal would imply that we're not going to have to deal with it any other way. There won't be any actual conflict. It's just going to be dealt with in a peaceful and civil manner. And that's what we're hoping for everything. So he's healing the shadow. He's working through the problem. We're getting to solutions, and those solutions are very, very positive, because again, what we're leading towards is ultimately a world at peace. And that's what I want. And I want it for you too. If there is some force that's trying to create a great deal of loss of life, and, you know, goes all the way back to the lusting after nuclear war, well, we don't really want that to happen. Linda Kiesling, I just said the generals are getting together to learn how to bring peace. So DIY Modular Session says, what's up? Saving them for last, when will that be, this year? Well, who knows? I mean, but, you know, if we can make a deal, that would be very, very surprisingly great. Don't forget to smash the like button, says Wendy. And yeah, we're up to 3,211 concurrent viewers right now at 34 minutes in. That is great. You guys have all showed up. And is the end of the Fed imminent? He posted a truth of a cartoon with JP Jerome, and it says, you're fired. Oh my God. Yeah, you know what? It's like only about 10% normally hit the like button, says Sammy Brown. So yes, go ahead and hit the like button if you haven't already done so. That'll make us all happy, especially whoever it was that was saying that, Wendy. So good deal. I think that this is all going to work out. And again, we're not trying to signal anybody out. It's just the fact that there is this kind of very integrated thing going on that's negative. And I've been talking about this since 2009, that this group is working to try to bring us to peace and bring us to a balanced and excellent worldview. So again, the deal is very positive, and it shows that we are working towards peace, that moves are being made in that direction. I'm very, very happy to hear of this. It's really, really wonderful. So he's also talking about dismantling groups that are engaging in negativity on our own soil. And that's a big positive too. We got to look at everything, take stock of what it is. And this cannot be seen as negative unless you are really into that kind of thing. Like, oh yeah, no. Yet another one that just popped up that's really, really surprising is this indictment that popped up. And we've heard that there were going to be these, that it was going to reach high levels. And so this again fits with the briefings we've been talking about for so long. And that just happened as well. So this may be the beginning of a much larger reveal that we've been talking about on the show for a long time, that hopefully will bring our world to a much greater level of peace and happiness and equality and safety, where we actually get to live safely on the planet and we're not having a problem. So off topic a bit, the money of these two countries, Iraq, Vietnam, is going to change dramatically. Hadn't heard about that. Hi, David. So great to see you back. Thank you for all you do, are, and will be. Much love, light, and gratitude always, says Doreen Clark. Thank you very much, Doreen. Glad to see you got your guitar there, says Moon Noggin. Richard Oliver said, we missed you. Gayanne Johnson says, the truth is freedom. The eye is still bothering me a little bit, but not too much. So 36 viewers. That's great. Thank you guys for showing up. We're doing very well. So yeah, people are talking about a lot of stuff in the comments here. And I got to be just careful that I don't read them all, because some of them, we got to just keep the rhetoric light. So this may be the beginning of a much larger reveal. We do not know exactly what is going on just yet, but my own background suggests that we have nothing to fear. So again, the topic of today's show is the healing of your shadow. And how we do that, again, is by not giving in to the fear, not giving in to this idea of, oh my God, we're going to have World War III. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. Oh my God, he's going to do this over here. He's going to do that over there. There's going to be World War. Let's try to, meditation effect is real. 7,000 people meditating together under one roof caused a 72% reduction in crime, terrorism, and fatalities worldwide. We don't want to ever forget that. So the meditation effect is a very, very serious thing. And right now, we've got 3,300 people, which is almost half of that effect in action. So just by building a coherent space together of thoughts and consciousness, we're sharing that energy right now. We're doing it as a group, and we're doing it in love. And that's very important. We don't want to be stuck in all this negativity. We want to rise above it, get beyond it. David, please put a cold compress on your eye. I'm okay, Cynthia, but thank you. So, yeah, we want to focus on the positive. We want to get beyond the negativity. And it's working out that way very well. So our love is the force that expands our consciousness, says Jason Ness. European leaders are calling 47 daddy, and sometimes it's angry daddy. Paul Cannon, they said that the scare event would be necessary. Patriots are in control. That's absolutely right. So those kind of things could be happening. The scare event might be exactly what we're getting ready to see. That is entirely possible. So yeah, lots of things to explore, lots of things to look at, and I frankly have excitement about it. So you want to heal your shadow. You don't want to be stuck in that shadow energy. Your shadow is living in the belief that there is no higher power in the universe, that it's all collapsing in on you, and that you're not in control. So the information that I've shared over the years has changed many people's lives because I'm giving you a concrete path towards seeing a higher power, towards seeing that there is a pathway through this stuff that is positive, that is safe, and that will keep us happy and secure. Oh, we had some donations come in. Jim Garrigus donated 200 Mexican pesos. Welcome back, David. I'm seeing some disclosure. TC series just touched the surface. I'm seeing much more coverage of a speech to the European Parliament regarding the original intentions of so-and-so. And we have Truls Glavin donated 119 NOKs. Hey, everyone, I'm finally back on the live show. Keep up the good work. David, check your hair. Okay, got my hair checked. Meditation of just one person affects 1,000 people. Remember to look inside. Stop looking outside. Hello, Jackie Baby says, I just got into the class. Don't. So 3,425 viewers. You know, we got a lot of good stuff happening. Everybody's showing up now because we're getting closer to the time that you originally thought I would be on the air. But I did start the show early. It was earmarked 2 hours ahead because, again, last week I thought I was going to try to get it in right after the memorial. But then I realized, wait a minute, this is not anything I want to try to compete with or interfere with. Out of respect, I just decided, once again, even though it kind of hurt my income, we're just going to do, the eye is good. Yes, thank you. So, you know, now I'm back. Now I'm here again, and it's good to be back. I've had a very busy week. Lots and lots of stuff is going on. And we're keeping ourselves, you know, safe and happy as well as we can be. Working in the light. Healing the shadow. This is very important. Trying to get through all this stuff one step at a time. And, you know, it's not always obvious how these things are going to work out or what's going to happen. It can be very, very frightening. I get that. And I want you to just reaffirm right now with me some peace. So let's do this together. Father, Mother, God, we thank you for this time together, working in fellowship. We feel the blessings of the healing that this planet is earning. We feel the blessings of the higher force of love and light surrounds us and envelops us in its wisdom, in its grace, in its majesty. Let us see through the chaos to a pathway of greater peace and greater love. We do understand that there may be scary events coming our way. We do understand that there may be some bumps in the road. And we just ask that they be as smooth and as navigable as possible. As we breathe in, we reaffirm cosmic truth. We reaffirm our belief and our knowingness that the planet is not going to be lost. The planet will not be destroyed. We're working together to bring about change. We're working together to bring about safety for all. We're working together to rise our frequency, raise our consciousness. We have 3,500 people here. This is half of the number of the meditation effect. And by the time more people come in and watch, we will be at that number. Lifting out the energies of stress from the planet, lifting out the energies of violence from the planet, feeling that sense of peace, that sense of equanimity, and just letting us follow the path of our breath. Letting each breath define the moment that we live in. Knowing that we cannot slide, we can only move forward into greater and greater levels of love and happiness and peace. Feeling so relaxed now. Going to an even deeper level. Going deeper within. Finding the stillness. Finding the joy. Finding the loving energy that lets us just feel so deeply at peace and relaxed. Seeing ourselves as part of a greater consciousness that is love. A one infinite cosmos made of pure mind and spirit. Physical reality coalescing out of a realm of pure consciousness. Reaffirming our identity within that consciousness. Reaffirming our safety. Reaffirming the positive outcome that we believe in, that we know to be true. Doing the work on ourselves. Feeling the peace that comes from self-knowingness. Feeling more and more relaxed with each and every passing moment as time goes by. Reaffirming our safety, allowing ourselves to just have this moment for ourselves, this moment of calm, to drift even deeper into those realms of awareness where all is thought and all thought is love. And the loving consciousness envelops us and lets us feel safer than we may ever have felt before. And as we hold that space, we project that sense of love and safety and calm onto the world, and onto all areas where there may be strife or tension or strain, knowing that all is well. We are not going to be lost. And so it is. All right. So, yeah, we got a lot of good stuff going on here. And life is good. So thank you guys for participating in that meditation with me. Let's keep on going. So the work that I have talked about, this information has changed many people's lives. You get a new spiritual perspective. You're not looking at the world with the same old eyes anymore. You've got a new idea about what's going on. And our work is predicting a very positive transformation. Now, in many ancient traditions, it's called Ascension. The Christians obviously use that term. What does it really mean? Well, it could be that life on Earth has a very different scope and configuration to it than we thought. It could be that there are, we know, NASA says there are 40 billion Earth-like planets just in our galaxy alone, 40 billion of them. That's incredible. And that those planets exist with water, and they could very well have a biosphere. They could very well have plants. They could very well actually have, when we look right into it, intelligent life. So intelligent life could be all over the cosmos. It could be something that we see everywhere and not just here on Earth. And what if the universe is designed to create life on planets that evolves through different grades of evolution? And that even the human life that we're at now, the level of humanity that we're at now, is fairly common and can go much higher than this, that we, as a planet, can achieve a higher level of evolution. Well, that's a very weird esoteric concept. It's not normal, but this is what we talk about. This is what was in material that goes back through many different sources of so-called revealed teachings. A positive transformation of the earth. We may not be able to see it in the immediate term because, again, the shadow comes up, it creates stress, we feel pain, we feel anxiety and fear. But again, a lot of this insight is coming from so-called revealed teachings, which is something I've studied for many, many years. And so, admittedly, this kind of content that we're talking about right now is very esoteric, but that's my focus. That's what I've been working on all these years. So, some people like to call it channeling, and that's one of the names for it. I'm just fixing my base layer here. Realized that my base layer wasn't down over my socks. It got hiked up as I went into the chair. So yeah, what are revealed teachings exactly? Well, different people have created religions in the past over the idea of words that were written by human beings that were considered to be divinely inspired. And so, yeah, you have sacred texts, you have scriptures of different kinds. Most of those are usually seen as having occurred in ancient history, and in some cases they become very popular. You know, the Bhagavad Gita, you have Taoist literature, the Zoroastrian Zend-Avesta. Of course, many different books of the Bible. The books are written by people, and then it's, you know, in normal Christian theology, these are revealed texts that have divine inspiration behind them. So there are also examples of this happening in more recent times that certainly we don't want to make religions. That's not the point. But the point is it possible for a human being to actually receive some type of inspiration from a higher source that has valid information in it? And I believe the answer is yes. And so in modern times, we have the science of remote viewing. And this came from the United States military. And remote viewing, by the way, is no joke. It's a very serious thing. Sandra Davis donated $49.99. Thank you very much. Did I miss anybody else here? Bonnie Demlong donated $20. Thank you very much for that. Ernta Freud said, I love your group meditation. And that's where we were. So I got through everything. Please try to read from foreign people, not only Americans. Thank you from Argentina, the country that is being, well, yeah, we don't want to say that out loud. But yeah, I get you. I totally get you. Maria Davis, hi David, I've followed you since 2009, a year after I had a head injury that made me wake up. Can you talk about political inclusion and not division being key? Christ consciousness is all about unity. Yes, absolutely. I really do feel that we need to unify with one another. That's very important. We don't want to divide. We want to try to find ways that we can bridge gaps. And it was great to have my mother here. She came out and stayed with me for a few days. And it's really the first visitor I've had in years. And it was really nice to reconnect with family. So anyway, I remote viewed the moon with Dr. Greer. It's a busy place, says Janet Paul. Yeah, so remote viewing is one of the big keys on how we get this accurate information from some other level of our consciousness. There's the idea that we have a subconscious mind. There's the idea that we have a soul. And if you can quiet down your conscious mind enough, then perhaps the voice of your soul can shine through. And so that's really what revealed teachings are about. And I think that we all have this ability. I don't think that it's something only for the select few. I certainly don't think we should put a religion around something like this. But these are abilities that we all innately possess. And the remote viewing protocols were designed to get you to focus on the skill that you need to be able to hear that voice with the greatest clarity and accuracy. Oh, we got another one here. Cassia Rose donated and says, thank you for bringing what the universe needs the most. I own Rosewater Wellness Spa in Clarksville, Tennessee, and employ healing artists doing God's work to promote positivity. Much gratitude for your shout out. Thank you very much, Cassia. Anita Constant, is gaining confidence a clue that my DNA is changing? It absolutely could be. Paul Cannon says, divinely inspired doesn't necessarily mean error-free, in my opinion. We have to use our discernment. I couldn't agree more. It is actually very important to scrutinize all revealed teachings. And, you know, the remote viewing, they claim that they could get up to 99% accuracy on looking at targets. But again, where does that really come from? You have to be a skeptic. You don't want to look at anything as totally provably factual. You want to always leave room for the skeptical explanations. Have you ever run into somebody while you're astrally projecting, says Reb L? Yes. I did have that happen where I was, trying to fly up through different layers of sky. Like you get to a certain layer and there's a new ground below you and you keep on flying. And then again, there's a new ground and you see buildings and trees and there's another one and another one. And I remember this guy grabbing me by the leg and not wanting me to go any higher. So, So anyway, life is good, and it's a good time to be here. I'm glad that you guys are here with me now. So most of the channeled works out there, I have to admit, does not impress me. But with the same type of accuracy as remote viewing, we have Edgar Cayce, who proved that it could be done with impressive results. And so this is Edgar Cayce as he looked later in life. 1877 is when he was born, died in 1945. And this is a very, very curious story because Edgar would go deep into trance under hypnosis, and he would speak as a we. And Y Chen just donated $20, says, "You are amazing. Thank you very much." Nancy Jessa, $50. "Love you, David. It's great to see you back. I believe in you. Love and light." Thank you, Nancy, as well. So yeah, Edgar Cayce was no joke. He would do medical readings on people, and this was where you just give him your name and your address and the agreement that you're going to be there at that particular place at the time that your session is scheduled. He would lie down on a couch. He would undo his collars and his lapel, and he would hypnotize himself, fall asleep, and then a voice would show up. It was his voice, but it would sound deeper, and it would say, "Yes, we have the body." So it started out as we. Yes, we have the body. Very strange way to get started because it suggested some kind of a group consciousness. Now, again, Cayce was a Christian, and this work really he had trouble with it. You know, he wasn't always happy about being a channel like this. So the work called him forth and made him feel like, okay, now I've got a job to do on earth. I've got a mission to perform. I've got a service to perform. And that service is about being a conduit for some type of higher force. And Cadillac Ken says, "Jesus is the sweetest name I know." Yes, absolutely. And Cayce was all about Jesus. That was one of the main focal points of the Cayce readings, was the Christ consciousness and Jesus as a whole. That is very extensively a part of what he was doing. And it's quite fascinating when you look at what he was saying, because they called in the readings, the Cayce readings, they called Jesus your elder brother. They said that Jesus is the pattern, and that Jesus as the elder brother shows us where we are all going as a species. That's really, really fascinating, the idea that we could be activated as some type of ascended being, that the abilities that Jesus showed were not simply designed to say, okay, God showed up on earth, and that's when it happened, and that's the last time it's going to happen. No. There's John 14:12 in the Bible says, "As I do these things," this is Jesus speaking, "so shall you do them, and greater things. For I go unto my Father, Mother, God." If you look at the original Aramaic, it's Father, Mother, God. Now we usually say Father, but it was originally genderless. That's very important. So if he spoke as a we, would that give him the pronouns of they and them? That's funny. David Morehouse, remote viewer for the military, has some great books. I agree. So anyway, yes, it's the original Aramaic. It was Father, Mother, God, says Paula H. You're right. So Greg Braden's book, The Isaiah Effect, talks about meditation affecting our plant's consciousness. Thank you, David Always, says MME Studio. So yeah, Father, Mother, God is a very important concept because there is no single gender involved, and I think a lot of people got turned off by Christianity because of that. This so-called patriarchy, it's not really there. Now granted, when it starts to get merged with the state, you can have those problems arise, but that's a big difference between where it ended up and where it was originally. So again, Edgar Cayce would speak as a we, and then you had to be there, and he would diagnose your medical problems. You didn't give any information except for your name and the time of your appointment, and then it would not only give you these medical diagnoses that were startlingly accurate. In other words, if you had a kidney problem, you don't have to say anything. The source already knows. And then it would also give you exotic treatments. This is before the era of penicillin. The antibiotics kind of made the Cayce treatments less necessary in some ways. They really did advance human health in a variety of contexts. But the Cayce readings were very, very focused on alternative remedies, and there's all kinds of interesting stuff that they taught that you can still work on. There was something called the wet cell, this strange thing where you put this battery in ice water, and then you have these wires that you connect to your hands and feet, and it's supposed to balance out your nervous system. All kinds of strange stuff. And for just a little while, for like 1 or 2 years, Casey was able to have a hospital where he had these things put together, and then the hospital collapsed and he lost it, and he lost everything and went back to a very meager existence after that, never really rebuilt himself. That was right after the Great Depression collapse of 1929. So again, the source was very strongly Christian. It prescribed unusual treatments. And then as time went on, after it had built up trust with him over many, many, many years, then comes in the idea of past lives. So reincarnation is one of the curious things about the Casey readings, the idea that the facial features that you had in another lifetime will carry over to your new body. You'll have similar facial features. This was extensively researched by Dr. Ian Stevenson, who studied over 3,000 children in the Middle East and found out that yes, children can remember that they were in past lives if they're in a culture that supports past life understandings. And when they remember somebody that they were before, their faces are going to look very similar. So the Christian Bible itself has a few artifacts in it that Emperor Constantine did not remove in the Council of Nicaea. And those artifacts suggest that yes, we have this interesting situation where there is in fact a reference to actually it's John the Baptist, that he's the return of Elijah the prophet. That's one of them. And then there's a very strange quote that somebody said with Jesus, which is, "Who has sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" Well, how could you have been born blind but then sinned before? Right? So that's another one. We talk about these in my book, the Michael Prophecies. I highly recommend you order that. I myself ended up receiving similar Edgar Casey type of contacts. It's a big part of what I do. I use the remote viewing protocols to try to make it as accurate as possible. So again, the link for that is on the description, and we now have it down at $144. It really, really helps me out if you could order that. And in the link on today's show, we also have a donation link. We really could use your help financially right now, so please, if there is any way that you could make a donation, it would be really great. I am hoping to get a new launch going here, but I've had a great deal of difficulty in my personal life just with insomnia. As you know, that's been a factor. Dan Brown's new novel, The Secret of Secrets, gets into how consciousness works. Jim Garrigus, thank you for the donation. See if I missed up. We had another one here. The Kitten, I won't say the whole thing. My 6-year-old son started astrally traveling, recently went to his favorite toy store and felt as if there was a giant magnet pulling him out into space. Then he went back into his body. Do you know what would cause this feeling? Very interesting. Hey bro, Jesus Christ is real, says Taylor Hibble. I totally agree. What would cause this feeling? I mean, yeah, it's spiritual influences. Anita Constant asks a question with a donation. Is gaining unusual confidence a sign of DNA changes? I would say yes. Love you, David, to the moon. All right. So, if you eat so clean, why do you have insomnia? Well, there's different reasons for that, but one of the main ones is sobriety. I'm completely sober now, and in the process, the body has to readjust. So I think that's a big part of it. And it's just taking a while, but yes, I am over a month now. I don't know exactly what day it is. It might be like day 35 or something like that, but it's supposedly up to 45 days where this can still happen. And I'm very glad to be clean. I don't think I'm ever going to have an issue with this again. I'm going to stay right where I want. So Cindy J donated $50. That is awesome. Thank you so much. And she says, thank you for continuing to share your light and wisdom. Glad you are rested. You are very calming today, and this is very good for our world. Thank you, Sydney. And Kate Picker donated $20. Thank you very much. So Harlan Bell, I'm over 32 years clean and sober. You can only sleep for about 4 hours at a time. You know, where I am right now, it's nothing that I did was illegal, okay? I was just using cannabis, and sometimes it was edibles, you know, whatever. But the point is I'm off of it completely, and I was using it in the past. I talked about this on my show. It's not a secret. But, you know, it's a fight to get off of it. And that's, I think, the main thing I'm dealing with. We talked about other things as well that could be involved. Have to clean up any type of mouse activity that I have. That could potentially cause it. There's various factors, but I'm getting better all the time, and that's an important thing. Emily Howard says, magnesium, you're absolutely right. Since I started taking magnesium, I've been doing much, much better. Midnight Mark says, no shame, David Wilcock, stress is a killer. Seska Matilda donated $200. Thank you very, very much. We need to see more of those. And again, please, if you can, go to the donation link on my website, divinecosmos.com. If there is any possibility, if there's somebody out there who could drop a large donation, that would really, really help us out right now. It would be so amazing. We've had some people do that in the past, and I really need it right now, so it would be great if you could do that. Again, divinecosmos.com/donate is where you need to go. Public Health Nurse says, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Michelle Fentman also donated. Both of those are $20. And we have Sammy Brown, donated $50. A friend gave me money out of the blue. I didn't want to cash the check. Giving is better than receiving. Thank you for all you do. You expanded my mind. So yes, definitely for me, it's a very good thing to be sober, and I'm definitely sticking with it. I understand that it benefits people, but you know, we're all working together here, and I'm working my process, and you have a different process, that's okay. This is just the one that I'm working, and it's what's doing it for me right now. So no shame, no judgment, everything is good, right? All right. So again, later on, we're still still having donations come in. So thank you guys so much. ALS 1976 says gratitude is important. Michael Moffat says, I love your show. I would never miss it. Leslie Berry, I always look forward to listening to you. You give me so much reassurance and peace. Melody Hart says, David, I use a keto, no sugar, 92% dark chocolate called Chalk Zero. I buy it from Amazon. It helps me sleep soundly every night. Chocolate helps you to go to sleep? Oh my God. For me, it would be exactly the opposite. We have a little bug climbing on my light there. So, Bonnie Demlong just donated $20. Thank you very much. Ron Emerson says, as a child, I would fall asleep and feel like I was falling through the floor. Then I remember floating above our house. Inspiring lucid thought. Jesus confirmed what you said about past lives. Our physical characteristics help us identify with past lives as well as our names. Well, I don't know. That's probably Jesus through some type of channel. Charlie Winter says, I'd like to invest in Stavati Aerospace, but what is the minimum? I can't say that on the air. I'm not allowed to because of the Rule 506D regulations. But again, we have slots for 4 more so-called non-accredited investors. So if you wanted to do that, just write us at the website, and we'll write you back, and that's how it works. You're not allowed to say more than just the fact that you have an offering, and please contact us for more information. And we strictly adhere to the law on that one. So there you go. Love, peace, and joy always, David. So yeah, things are good. Danielle Roby says, oh, that was so nice. So the best magnesium is, somebody said, we won't promote that particular thing, but do a nice long walk or stretching during the day, and it will help you to sleep. Totally agree. Totally agree. All right, so we're at 1 hour and 9 minutes in. Things are good. We're at 3,662 viewers. We're doing great. Red light therapy and reading a book before bed zonks me out every time, says James is cool. I hadn't heard about red light therapy. So red light is actually supposed to help you talk. Yeah, well, or go to sleep better. Well, I don't know. I mean, I would definitely love to have a solution. So if red light is an answer, you guys can tell me about that. That would be great. No, nothing that I did was anything that was illegal. Come on, you guys. So anyway, for sleep, remember to turn off all EMFs, especially your cell, and put it on airplane mode. Yep, I would say that's definitely important. Why are you always sitting in the dark? Well, it's just the set. It's just the way that the set is built. And it's the way I like it to look in the background. So I don't know, you guys. Anyway, so Casey had past lives be a big part of his work. You know, your past lives affect who you are now, and they're all apparently occurring in a simultaneous, non-temporal reality. We think linear time is just kind of chunking along, when in fact it's actually all happening in cycles. The cycles overlap with each other, and they are ultimately simultaneous. So past lives are a big part of the Casey saga. And again, there are passages in the Bible that talk about this. So Casey had over 14,000 documented examples of doing these types of psychic readings. It's really quite impressive. And so there he is again from, 1877 to 1945. Here he is on his couch. This is where he used to do this work. And so now we had a biographer who was given unprecedented access to the Casey archives. His name was Sidney Kirkpatrick. And long ago, he put out these 10 facts about Edgar Casey. He sadly died. I think it was either last year or this year. I forget. I just saw that online today. But anyway, a lot of the stuff that Casey had done was kept anonymous. We didn't really know who it was or what it was. That he had, who got the readings. They were just all given numbers. But there was an original archive in Virginia Beach that had the names behind the numbers. Sidney Kirkpatrick was able to do that, to go in there and find out who they were. And he came out with 10 interesting facts about Edgar Casey. People say it's mood lighting, and I prefer that to bright, says Skyheart. Yes, thank you. I need to remember to do that with my phone before bed. Kitsy Witty says, David, you really do look like Edgar Casey. It's amazing. Yeah, that's part of the weird story here is like, why does David have a black eye? Yeah, I had to pick at my eye here because we had a eyelash. No, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Crystal P, but thank you for asking. Get plenty of sun. It will also help you sleep. And remember that you are not alone. So, magnesium and melatonin, that's right. Those are actually the two main things I'm taking, says Intent Recordings said that. Oh, Grand Blanc, Michigan had a church burned down? I didn't hear anything about that. Oh, wow. And there was a shooting apparently. So, yep, so we're having more of these types of distresses, but we're trying to do our best to rise above all that stuff. And, we can't change the fact that these things happen. They do happen. But we don't want to stay in the shadow. We want to rise above the shadow and move into love and light as much as we can. I lost my Divine Cosmos info to log in, so here's what I wish to give. Love to you. Yeah, again, it's divinecosmos.com/donate, DONATE. If you'd like to go direct, that will really, really help us out. $75 from Gene Novacek. Thank you very, very much. Valerian root. Oh, Nino Rodriguez is a guy on the show selling red light therapy. You can find it on YouTube. He just did one a couple days ago. Never alone, never again. So anyway, somebody says melatonin is not good for you to take from a chiropractor. Oh, I heard from a chiropractor melatonin was not good to take. Well, I have been using it, but sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Melatonin has adverse effects, vitamin D with 5-HTP, theanine, magnesium, and chamomile, says imaginary unit. Red light therapy, rapid eye movement glasses, David. Okay. I learned the hard way. Melatonin is not helpful for everyone, says Dolores Cornea. I cannot use it. I use valerian root. Okay, well, David told us a few years ago it was going to get jiggy. You may not want to go to the store to get a dozen eggs. This is while he lived in the canyon, right? Checks out, doesn't it? Says Leslie Wardman. So yeah, anyway, the Casey readings are very fascinating. Here's 10 facts about him. He was not a fraud. Even the most clever con man wouldn't have been capable of delivering 14,145 fully documented trance readings over a period of 45 years. No two of them were alike. Over 90% are believed to have been correct. It's like a Las Vegas nightclub performer having to perform an entirely new act every day, twice a day, for almost 20 years. So, next one. He underwent psychic testing by deans at Harvard Medical School and Columbia University. Though these eminent physicians were unable to explain his psychic powers, they could not deny that he possessed them. So yes, he was actually properly evaluated scientifically by skeptics, and they didn't know what the heck was going on. So then we're up to number 3, Harry Houdini, who was always trying to debunk people. That was the whole Houdini is going to like prove that you're a fraud if you're trying to say you're doing something magical. He met his match in Edgar Cayce. The famous illusionist met with Cayce, witnessed a reading, but was at a loss to explain Cayce's incredible powers. Now, for some reason at this point, number 4 gets skipped. I don't know why, but we go right from number 4 to number 5. So we'll do that next here. His medical readings were used by 3 of New York's most prominent physicians to treat such noteworthy people as Irving Berlin, George Gershwin, Gloria Swanson, Marilyn Monroe, Governor Nelson Rockefeller, labor leader George Meany, and author William Saroyan. So yes, Cayce's work was very, very prominent, very, very popular. Most people don't know that. Though he was long known as a medical clairvoyant, the most astounding readings were given to inventors and scientists. Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla had trance readings by Cayce, as did various engineers at RCA, IBM, Delco, and the president and founder of the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. So yes, actual inventions came out as a result of the Cayce readings, giving various engineers things. And it says, remarkable technological and electronic designs provided by Cayce in trance are now used at almost every large hospital and airport in the world. One of the things that the Cayce readings gave, if you're driving down the highway and you see that reflective material on the road, and it's reflecting back to you from your headlights, that actually apparently came out of a Cayce reading, believe it or not. Sleep with a grounding sheet, I have been trying that. Hasn't really worked as well. 4,000 watching, smash the like button. That's right. So, okay. Keep on going here. Ernest Hemingway's mother consulted Cayce about her son's writing career. Carl Laemmle of Universal Studios, Harry Getz of Paramount Pictures, and the legendary film pioneer Thomas Ince developed film projects that were dictated through Cayce's readings. This is really, really wild. So somebody says, you're glowing and I want to buy your house, says Fairy P. Well, thank you. I appreciate that very much. Okay, so he gave readings to President Woodrow Wilson as he was struggling to create the League of Nations to create peace, and Cayce warned another great war would result from Congress's failure to support the president and the creation of the League. So there's another one for you. It went all the way up to the President of the United States. Though his predictions represent less than 2% of his readings, he accurately predicted the great stock market crash, the rise and fall of Hitler, Japan's sneak attack on Pearl Harbor, and 2 American presidents' loss. However, as he would say in trance, the best thing any warning can accomplish is to incite change, which subsequently and hopefully changes the direction the future will take. Yeah, you don't want to be left with a feeling of hopelessness just because a prophecy comes in. But, you know, you also want to be aware of it and take stock of the warning as well. Okay, so Cayce's life touched tens of thousands of followers, including Elvis Presley, who was reading a copy of a Cayce book when he died, the rock star John Lennon, the film director Steven Spielberg, and the actress Shirley MacLaine. So, the Cayce readings proved that this type of psychic accuracy is absolutely possible to achieve. Anybody can potentially do it. It's just that he happened to have the skill and the mindset that was necessary to make it go. Linda Korsiak says, my sleep has been off for several months. I think it's in part due to Schumann resonance. A silver-laced beanie does help. I am under power lines. It's never dark in Los Angeles. Woof. Don't sleep near any charging cell phone and shield the phone from you, says Rob of Broccoli. Yes, so Elvis was a Casey fan? Oh my God, says James is cool. Yep, you didn't know that, but there it was. We love you, David, says Dr. Anon 69. Elvis Presley was reading The Scientific Search for the Face of Jesus by Frank Adams at the time of his death. Well, maybe it had, The Scientific Search for the Face of Jesus could definitely have had Casey in it. But that's just what Sidney Kirkpatrick's research showed. Elvis did read a ton of books. It's his 56 moment. And I've got tons of little hearts and things rising off of my heart icon down here. Again, we're at 3,700 viewers. We're an hour and 20 minutes in. Life is good. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your presence today. So Casey's work exploded in the 1960s, became very, very popular. Hundreds of books were written that go into great detail, but still to this day, no major TV show or movie has ever been made about Edgar Casey. His work still exists primarily as a literary phenomenon. Now, the question is, what was the source? What was the source that was talking through Casey? What is this we? Is it some type of angelic being? And is there any connection between that and the so-called extraterrestrial phenomenon? Well, Casey's work was all finished by 1945 when he passed away. The Roswell crash did not happen until 1947, 2 years after his death. Therefore, how could he have known about it? How could they say flying saucer? The term didn't exist yet. And then what we start to see in the 1950s is that people began having contact. I mean, it wasn't like it had never happened before. But after the Roswell crash and after other things like the Kenneth Arnold sightings, people began having flying saucer contactee reports. And again, this gets into really, really fringe UFO subjects, but that's one of the things I love that I've always talked about is, okay, what's really going on here? And who are these beings? If there are actual, I mean, look, Congress is telling us UFOs are real, right? We've had congressional disclosure. We've had videos that have emerged of things that we don't know what they are. We got 3-Eye Atlas coming in, and it looks very interesting. Whatever it is, it's flying right into the middle of the solar system. Looks like it could be cylindrical. Very intense stuff. So what's really going on here? Well, in the 1950s, people started to have these flying saucer contactee reports, and this is another big, big part of my work, is talking about all this stuff. People were having contact with ETs that looked like human beings, but they came out of these ships that often seem to look like your traditional flying saucer. Another very interesting thing about this is that these beings came across with a Christian philosophical nature. And so there was a focal point for people that were speakers about this. It was in Giant Rock, Joshua Tree. They had these huge UFO gatherings beginning in the 1950s, and many people who were actually experiencing these types of contacts themselves were attracted to these gatherings. And one of the big focal points of the gatherings was, as it said, it's called Giant Rock, so there was in fact a giant rock that was present on site. And the rock apparently had a pyramid-like effect on people's consciousness. So this is kind of like where the Casey readings stopped, and then it goes off in a different direction, involving new types of experiences people are having. Here's a person standing on top of the rock. At some point, they had cranked the car up on top of the rock, winched it up apparently. And all this was being organized by George Van Tassel, who was funded by none other than Howard Hughes, the aerospace tycoon for his time. We would say he was a billionaire. Howard Hughes was responsible for this stuff. And he had a restaurant under the rock, this is George Van Tassel on the right, called Come On In. And it is reported that Hughes would land his plane for just a piece of pie made by Van Tassel's wife, Eva. So they had built a meditation room underneath the rock and this restaurant. Here's pictures of it. How interesting, huh? Well, this area was a focal point for people coming in who had UFO contact. Apparently there was like a pyramid effect inside there. You can see how esoteric this was. College of Universal Wisdom, Primary Energy Research. And Thy Kingdom Come magazine, apparently published by Gabriel Green, a contactee. The 50s to the 1990s was the photographer. And there again is the Come On In. And they even had an airport that they built specifically so that Howard Hughes could land his plane and have fun visiting. So every year they'd have these huge UFO gatherings. About 5,000 people would show up. That's a huge number. And there they are right by the giant rock. And these people would get together, and some of them apparently were having very authentic contact. So what we see here, these are some of the real classic ones. Orfeo Angelucci, Secret of the Saucers, George Van Tassel, Frank Scully, which is where you got the name from in the X-Files, and George Hunt Williamson, Road in the Sky, over there on the right. So Van Tassel built something from his own apparent telepathic contact called the Integratron. We hear in the Law of One that it never really worked, but it was supposed to be a time machine for basic research on rejuvenation, anti-gravity, and time travel. So that's still there. You can go visit that. It's a fun place to go, but no, it never actually succeeded. Apparently it would have, according to the Law of One, which we'll get into that in a minute, but you know, he had a flawed ET contact that wasn't really working out properly for him. And so the readings that he got didn't finish the job and actually get this thing to work. It is very interesting, though. The dome that you see in the background there, it rotates over the base. It's got its own set of wheels. And there's a wooden floor, and it's all made out of wood like a pyramid. You know, you don't want to have any metal in a pyramid in the Russian sense. We talked a lot about pyramid technology. And it's got very interesting acoustics inside. If you stand in the middle in particular, you get some really interesting stuff. So then we have George discussing his contact with this classic television host, Long John Nebel. And he had a space visitor named Solganda. And this was a woman, I believe, and she spoke English and came out of a flying saucer. So what were these original communications that people were getting in the 1950s saying? One of the main ways that it showed up, as I've said many times before, is through a ham radio telegraph. So before the era of internet and all that kind of stuff, you had the ham radio, and you would do Morse code on the ham radio. There's a little keypad there that you can see. You hit it with your finger. And so Wilbert Smith was a Canadian radio engineer with a top secret clearance. He was read in on UFOs, crash discs and all that kind of stuff. And he began receiving a Morse code ham radio signal from this method of the ham radio Morse code. Very, very fascinating. So it began speaking to him, and it actually ended up showing up in person that he had messages coming from what claimed to be a flying saucer. The flying saucer actually showed up. It said that they had bases on other planets in our solar system. It got to be very, very interesting. And it turned out that there were other groups that were also being contacted. So let's dig into this now. The contact began in 1952. If you read the book by George Hunt Williamson, we find out that 12 different groups were contacted. W.B. Smith was personally contacted on his ham radio telegraph. And Neela Zerker donated $50. Thank you very, very much. And we're now an hour and 28 minutes in. So now we're getting to the point where if you thought the show was going to start later, now hopefully you've made it here. So again, Neela, thank you very much for the donation. I loved the red pills given to us in the X-Files. I have an email with X-File in it. I've always wondered that about Scully, says John Patrick. Yep, absolutely. So, yeah, anyway, let's get back into this stuff. Whoops. So, anyway, George Hunt Williamson wrote his book, The Saucers Speak, on these events that happened with W.B. Smith, and Smith's identity was hidden in the process. So these ETs, alleged ETs, explain the main message. This is the real key here, folks. And this is really where I get back into the idea that there is a reason for us to have hope, and that is about healing your shadow, healing the shadow of fear of World War III, that all these bad things could end up happening. This contact was very fascinating because George Hunt Williamson and W.B. Smith interviewed all these different people at the Giant Rock event who claimed they were having ET contacts. And not all of them, but some of them ended up having the same information as everybody else. There was a 100-part questionnaire they came up with. It had a lot of weird questions in it. And the people who were able to be vetted out by this method, they all answered these questions the same way. They all had the same answers to the same questions, which is truly interesting. Because if alleged extraterrestrial intelligence is speaking through them, coming from flying saucers, and you're doing it blindly, you have each person isolated from the other, you ask them the same questions, you get the same answers, that's very, very exciting. And so this was scientific research conducted by the fact that giant rock was occurring. And it's very interesting in terms of how it showed that people were all getting the same results, and they're basically hearing the same messages. What was the main message of this work? That our solar system is moving into a more highly energized region of our galaxy, that we get increases in cosmic rays, among many other things, but our entire solar system would be transformed by the process along with the human race itself. So this is the concept of ascension. This is the concept that maybe there are many other worlds that have humans on them, not just Earth. And maybe those planets go through grades of evolution that have energetic stimulus that pushes us through. And so, as you probably know, if you've looked at my work, I've done incredible stuff about interplanetary climate change, the idea that the whole solar system is getting brighter and hotter and more magnetic, more magnetized. These are incredible things that we're seeing. And, you know, every one of the planets is showing us various signs of this. That's a long discussion that I've unpacked in many other shows. So superficially, you see planets with increasing cloud brightness, planets whose physical heat temperature is going up. But then on a metaphysical level, we're seeing all these other interesting things as well. So I think actually it's about time for me to take a little break to, again, I'm going to fix up my eye, and but the message was given to world governments. Let's just go through the rest of this. W.B. Smith hid his identity from Williamson's books due to government clearance, and telegraph messages switched to direct mental telepathy through a member of the group. Smith was asking classified questions that only he knew the answers to, and he got correct answers. And again, he created this 100-part questionnaire to examine other people with telepathic contact from the giant rock events. A small number of people across the country were giving nearly identical answers, and any discrepancies in their answers later were explained away as their personal biases tampering with the data. So again, the main point here was that they're talking about a change in our solar system that's coming our way. Really, really fascinating. So the conclusion was that telepathic communication is very real and can be replicated. This was in the mid to late 50s. Different sources giving nearly identical questions, identical answers to technical and classified questions. And he was convinced again that the entire solar system is being transformed, that we are going through a spiritualizing ascension, which is really the Jesus message, according to Edgar Cayce. He called it in his readings the fifth root race, the idea that there's a Christ activation going on in humanity. And overall, these ETs were predicting a fantastic change on the Earth, and that you can see it superficially with things like interplanetary climate change. So this is how we make a scientific case for this transformation. All right, you guys, so I'm going to take a little break here, which I think is very well earned and deserved at this point. And let's find out. Here we go. We're going to, let's see which one is a good one to have. Okay, so I'm going to take you on an initial walk through the bluebells. This is the first one of these that I've got. This is back when the weather was still really good here. 7 minutes gives me just enough time to go upstairs and get a little blood sugar going. I got low blood sugar right now, so that's part of why I got to do this. But I also do need to use the room. So anyway, we're going to walk through the bluebells. It's 7 minutes, 17 seconds. I'm going to pause or mute my microphone, and I'll be back to you momentarily. But this gives me a chance to go and hit the room. So here we go. I'll be back in 7 minutes. Don't go away. We still got 3,800 people watching. Okay, we are back up, And we're going to get this going for you guys. This is, oops, let's make that, get the microphone in a nice position here. And here we go. Ready as you are. And whoops, let's get that on screen. Action! So we've just started our nature hike. You can see that we have some really nice, again, this is a type of sage. And you can really smell it if you pick one of the leaves and you smell it. Oh yeah. I mean, that's like perfect for any type of poultry cooking. Like if you're gonna roast a chicken or something, sage is one of those things, and we've got it everywhere. It's growing all in there. We have a severe thunderstorm warning, and so all of these bluebells might end up dying. They all get blown off if there's one big wind. You really don't want to see them go out that quick. But unfortunately, I didn't catch it other years. I said, oh, it'll be there tomorrow. These are all going to come out pretty soon. They're going to turn yellow. Look at all these bluebells. They're everywhere. It's so beautiful. And this is probably from stuff that I planted. I threw out the meadow mix. It has flowers in it like this. These are great. This has got some yellow in there. Yeah. I want to make sure I'm in frame. You guys can see this. This thing does what it wants now. It doesn't really... The gimbal is gone. Something happened at the Air Dominance Summit, as I said, and I haven't taken the time to figure it out because I'm just so freaking busy. That's okay. Look at all this blue wonderment on this path. Almost like it's lined with lilacs. They're just everywhere, and you can smell this very wonderful, robust candy. It's a candy type of taste. If you translated the smell into a taste, these bluebells taste like some absolutely delicious grape candy. I'm sure they've taken extracts of this and put it in food that has a grapey flavor, because that's just what it is. You can totally smell it. So I want you to enjoy that with me as well. Oh, man. What happens is the wind comes in, and the wind will just blow all these right off. Where am I here? Yeah. They'll just come right off the stalks, and you'll be out here tomorrow, and none of this is here anymore. It's gone. And I've been hijacked like that, unfortunately, fairly often. It can just go bad, and they all disappear. But this is about as good as you're ever going to get right now. Look at this guy. That whole blossom. Yeah, wow. See, I appreciate this. Because when you grow these and you planted them by hand and spent hundreds of dollars to do it, because you got to buy all this seed, it's fairly expensive. And then they come out like this. It's just spectacular, man. I think this seed was like $40 a bag or something. So it pays for itself. The aesthetic wonderment that we've got here. Like, look at this little, we got an outcropping right here. That's just grass. That's not really going to get any taller because that's part of what the meadow mix is about. It's not long grass. You do not want to plant long grass. It creates all this mess when it dies, and you can't get rid of it unless you clean it up. So get rid of long grass. That's not what the smart person does to plant around here. Oh, this is a beautiful sage outcropping. Doesn't that just look wonderful? It smells, you can smell it too. The grape candy odor is very pungent right here. This is so great. Look at all this over here. That could all be gone tomorrow. In a big inferno. No, it's not going to be nuclear. It's going to be the wind. The wind can just wipe these guys out. This is an amazingly dense crop of sage right through here. It's like a little sage garden. It's wonderful. There's more bluebells. And the yellow ones again. They're starting to come in. That wasn't there as much before. They're all going to pop and go nuts in a couple days. There's some more bluebells over there. This is the view that people long for. And I already have it. It's private land, no trespassing, security enforced, dangerous dogs, whatever it might be. It's Daddy's place. And don't get him too pissed off, you know? He has a very sassy mouth. Gets him in trouble. He apologizes profusely for the indiscretions that sass can provide. Look at this beautiful driftwood just sitting here on the forest floor. This is a beautiful conversation piece. We're going to save this one. We'll put it over here and leave it on the trail for when we come back. It's really a nice thing for accenting the decoration. All right, you guys, you've gotten to see the first wave of bluebells. We'll catch up on the next one. So we've just started our nature hike. You can see that we have some really nice, again, this is a type of sage. And you can really smell it if you pick one of the leaves and you smell it. Oh yeah. I mean, that's like perfect for any type of poultry cooking. Like if you're gonna roast a chicken or something, sage is one of those things, and we've got it everywhere. It's growing all in there. We have a severe thunderstorm warning, and so all of these bluebells might end up dying. They all get blown off if there's one big wind. You really don't want to see them go out that quick. But unfortunately, I didn't catch it other years. I said, oh, it'll be there tomorrow. These are all going to come out pretty soon. They're going to turn yellow. Look at all these bluebells. They're everywhere. It's so beautiful. And this is probably from stuff that I planted. I threw out the meadow mix. It has flowers in it like this. These are great. This has got some yellow in there. Yeah. I want to make sure I'm in frame. You guys can see this. This thing does what it wants now. It doesn't really... Gimbal is gone. Something happened at the Air Dominance Summit, as I said, and I haven't taken the time to figure it out because I'm just so freaking busy. That's okay. Look at all this blue wonderment on this path. Almost like it's lined with lilacs. They're just everywhere, and you can smell this very wonderful, robust candy. It's a candy type of taste. If you translated the smell into a taste, these bluebells taste like some Absolutely delicious grape candy. I'm sure they've taken extracts of this and put it in food that has a grapey flavor, because that's just what it is. You can totally smell it. So I want you to replaying? Okay, I'm sorry, you guys. Enjoy that with me as well. Okay, you guys, sorry about that. I didn't realize it was replaying, but I just needed some time. Yeah. Is this David's place? Yes, for now it is. But anyway, yeah, so there you go with the nice little break video. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming back. I did fix my eye. I think that the eyelid, there was an eyelid that was actually on top of, an eyelash that was on top of my eyelid, I think is what was actually causing that. And so I'm feeling a lot better now. Very enjoyable, nice video. Thank you guys. Refreshing, David, nice garden. It was so peaceful. So yeah, we're good. Love you, David, says Cosmic Dreams. So yeah, the 1950s ET contacts were really, really something. It really changed my life. And that's actually what also led to the start of the Law of One material. So very, very important. Again, let's get this going. These ETs predicted a fantastic change on Earth. Derek Christian says, I am in heaven on earth. All the negative things I feared no longer fear. For all outside of love is an illusion, or fear, guilt, and shame, low vibrational energy that I shook off finally. New Jerusalem is here, and I am home. Penelope says, a timeline split is messing with a lot of people. My sleep has been off for months. Also an empath that probably comes off as apathetic given all the stuff that's going on lately. I understand that, believe me. Derek Christian, thank you for your donation. So yes, slideshow, let's go, says Joe Moreno. Absolutely. All right, so we're still at 3,554 viewers. That's fantastic. Thank you guys for being here. And I'm just very honored that you're here today with me, that you've decided to spend your time with me today. That's really, really great. And, you know, we're keeping it real for you guys. We're doing what we can to make a great show. And I'm happy to be here. So it's all really good stuff. You know, there's nothing bad going on. So anyway, we have been making a scientific case for this idea of an ascension transformation of the solar system. And this was all studied by Dr. Don Elkins beginning in the 1960s. He was a very prominent physicist who ended up, well, not very prominent, but, you know, certainly had his credentials and became a major figure in the UFO research community. And ultimately, Dr. Don Elkins' research grew into the Law of One contact of 1981, which is really the source of everything that I do. It's like the central focus of my work, that it's always been on the Law of One. That's a major, major focus for me. I have been a scholar of it since I first found it in 1996. And it involved three people, Dr. Don Elkins, Jim McCarty, and Carla Ruckert. And Carla would go into a very similar type of trance state as Edgar Cayce, and they also followed Christian guidelines. They used an open Bible, and they had an incense stick with every session. As you can see right here, there was a candle, there was a chalice of water that they would bless, and they also had an incense stick that you don't see in this picture. The Bible was there. The Law of One has many, many very impressive tie-ins with the Cayce readings. And it again gets back into the idea of the philosophy of seeing the universe as if it were a conscious being. So this is why it's called the Law of One. The idea is that there's only one infinite consciousness, which the Law of One calls the one infinite creator. And so in this esoteric philosophy, which again, you know, supposedly comes out of some type of extraterrestrial, advanced, multidimensional intelligence, they're telling us in this work that we live in a multidimensional universe, and that it has, I guess I might have missed this previous slide as well, so let's go back to that. So the Law of One, there she is with the incense and the censer Sorry, you guys couldn't see the picture. Camera, camera, camera. Yeah, people are saying stop bashing other people on YouTube. Anyway, let's go back a little bit. Dr. Don Elkins studied this material as research grew into the Law of One in 1981. I've studied it since 1996. These are the three people involved again. Carla would go into a trance state similar to Edgar Cayce, and they would use an open Bible with an incense stick for every session, as you can see right here. Now, this is right after the session ended and she was just starting to wake up. They took the blind off of her eyes. They usually put something over her eyes, and she's just starting to wake up. So the Law of One had many impressive tie-ins with the Cayce readings, seeing the philosophy of the universe as a conscious being. And again, the idea is that there's only one infinite creator, which is pure awareness. And so in the shadow self that we live in, if you live in your shadow, you're not going to see the oneness of the universe. You're going to be feeling afraid of duplicity and separation and not living in this trust. So like, if there is no God, if there is no higher power, if there is no creator, then oh my God, there could be a war. We could all die. Something bad could happen. You lose whatever you thought you had. But when you start to have faith in a higher power, that helps you to heal your shadow and embrace yourself as the loving being of light that you really are. So the one infinite creator is a very important concept in the Law of One. Readings from Hong Kong, says LKF Fung, donates $250 of Hong Kong money. So thank you very, very much for that. We really appreciate it. Did you hit the love button? Did she start her contact with a Ouija board? No, in that case, she did not. It was done through, again, tuned trance telepathy is one of the things they were calling it. This is all good stuff, by the way. So anyway, yeah, Law of One really changed my life. It had a very, very powerful effect upon me, as it has for many people. And the one infinite creator is what it's all about. The Law of One is that there is only oneness. There is only light, love, unity, and harmony in the universe. And that the entire universe that we know is created by this intelligent awareness that has omniscience and has incredible power. And it created a multidimensional universe with various grades of existence that we evolve through step by step. So this is, again, a channeled work revealing fascinating insights. And one of the weirdest things about it is that it said that it showed up in Egypt as the entity known as Ra. However, at the same time, and that's going to, and again, we had a lot of issues with Christians getting really upset about the Law of One. Oh my God, the sun god, oh my God, Ra. Well, you got to read the material and see how beautiful it is. By the way, you see this here? We got a $279.99 from the Sunflower. Thank you for your service, dear brother of light. If I be lifted up from the earth, I will draw all men unto me. John 12:32. That's a great one, yeah. So anyway, so this was a very powerful teaching that came through the Law of One. I started to read it in 1996, and it had an incredible effect on me. It really changed my mind about so many things, and I was very, very happy to find it, because I'd already been researching all this stuff that ties in. So for me, because I didn't have I wasn't prone to think, oh my God, if it's not Christian, it's bad. The idea that it came from Egypt, the idea that there might have been some Egyptian thing from the ancient history, it's like, fine, The pyramid is interesting. And in fact, the Law of One said that the pyramid was originally a positive monument that was distorted by the negative. And then I got into all this pyramid study before I even found the Law of One that said that the pyramid was a monument to the coming Christ. We've talked about that extensively, the open sarcophagus, and the idea that that symbolizes ascension. That, in the king's chamber, there's a coffin in there with no lid on it, and apparently you would go in there and you would receive an initiation, and it would create ascension. It's pretty breathtaking stuff. The Cayce reading said the same thing. The Cayce readings said the pyramid was a monument to Christ. The Cayce readings described a pyramid timeline, laying out events year by year as we go into the future, and that it involves this transformation of our solar system. And again, the Cayce readings said that the second coming of Christ would happen in all of us, and we would be activated into something they called the fifth root race, which I just find incredibly fascinating. Somebody said, Charlie Winter, I got blocked from donating for using the wrong words. Hope that will be lifted. I will be more careful. Well, I don't think there's any wrong words you could use on our divinecosmos.com/donate link. I don't know about that, but anyway, yeah, you can go there and that should work just fine. We're not going to block you for any words that you might say. Great to see you back, David, says Yellow Poppy 08. Yes, the people that worked in the Law of One, they were not perfect. They had their own flaws. They worked with various individuals, but I believe that the work stands on its own. The work was good, even if they, not everybody has good insiders. You get shadowy insiders, and that's part of what happens too. So it's all part of the flow. Anyway, they said in the Law of One that they built the pyramid, that the source built the pyramid, and again, when you read it, they have very, very strong Christian tie-ins in the Law of One, including this concept. This is the main one, that they call the galaxy the Logos. But then they also say that the word Logos means word. And if you read the book of John, in the beginning there was the Logos, and the Logos was God, and the Logos was with God. So Logos actually means galaxy. It means word. And it also means actually Jesus. Because Jesus said, I am the Word, I am the Logos. So it's not a direct thing, but the Law of One does speak very highly of Jesus, and I think they had to disguise that from Dr. Don Elkins, the guy asking the questions, because he wasn't really a Christian at all. He had a bias against it. So they had to kind of sneak this in. And another thing that I think they had to sneak in is the idea that Ra and Archangel Michael were the same thing, because again, that's one of the things that seems to have come out in my own work, where the source identified as Archangel Michael at one point and as Ra at another point. So it could be, as I've said before, that there's one entity using different names in the course of its time traveling. Well, that could be. Again, I get it. This stuff is very weird, very esoteric, very outside the box thinking. But the point is that it's worked for me. When I started to get my own contact, it was after reading the Law of One. The Law of One essentially tuned me up. And then I started to practice remote viewing protocols, and I got this dream voice contact. And it's not easy to do. You gotta get your mind in a very deep state of meditation, and you have to listen to whatever these fragments are that just sounds like background speech in the background of your mind. It's not easy to do. It's not hearing voices. It's a very complex process that involves actually tuning in to stuff that is what most people would think of as imagination, and getting all the other chatter out of the way. It's the same thing they do in remote viewing. You look for tiny little clues in the background of your mind, like little flashes of images that you only see for a split second. You pick up on that. So normally you don't hear this stuff, but when you first wake up in the morning, if you meditate very deeply and you get yourself into a very deep state of trance, you might find that you can. And so I started listening, and that's how this all began. And I started to write down what it was saying using the remote viewing protocols. Again, no analysis, no emotional reaction. You don't have to go to the bathroom. And through this process, through a very dedicated process, sort of like learning to play piano, I eventually learned how to bring this stuff in. And it also validated very much what was in the Law of One. But let's get back to the Law of One for a minute. Once I read this, it validated all this research that I'd been doing in over 300 plus books I'd read in college, including books that I was reading about UFOs, specifically from the Art Bell show. So the Law of One had a whole big thing on sacred geometry, and that's been one of my main focal points, showing sacred geometry in the quantum realm, showing sacred geometry in biology, sacred geometry in the so-called ley lines of the Earth. We've talked about this very extensively in previous shows. It's no joke. It's the real thing. So let's just check in with you guys and see how you're doing. Miles Irvin says, it's good to see you on the air, David. Thank you very much. The theta brain state, says Nick Sasma, is what we experience right after we wake up, before we go to sleep. It is the key to accessing innate source wisdom, as explained by Kimberly Gauguin. David got some good abilities, says Project Skyfalls. John Patrick, big epic evolutionary changes are coming. It's our starseed destiny. Yeah, so you guys all understand that. So Snort Snoramore says, I just got in after an hour of not knowing you were on because I didn't get notified, but that's okay. I'll listen to the first part. Thank you. So Inspiring Lucid Thought says we should all ask for help to help ourselves for the highest good for all concerned. When help is offered, we accept it as assistance and can then ask for further help. Charlie Winter says she donated on Divine Cosmos. Yes, and it all goes to us. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you, Charlie. And anybody else who's done that, if you have, thank you very much in advance. I sincerely appreciate the help. It definitely, it's going to help me out. Anything you can do is very good right now. So Gail House says, thank you, David. She donated $20. I love spending Sundays with you, and I've been a fan for many, many years. So Cadence S says, what is the day and nighttime temperature there? What altitude are you at? We're at 8,640 feet. I'm curious to know what type of plants survive those conditions. Are they alpine species? Yes, they are. So you get sage, you get certain little flowers. They don't grow for very long, but they grow for a short while and then they disappear again. Anyway, yeah, life is good and I'm happy to be here. So everything is happening really well. And I'm very happy about all the stuff that's going on right now. So the Law of One really blew me away because it's describing that our planet is going through something they called a quantum shift, or they use the term harvest, which is a term you find in the book of Matthew, where Jesus says that the weeds will be plucked out from the wheat one by one at the time of harvest. And it seems to describe this separation. And then shall the righteous shine like the sun. So again, it does sound really strange. I get it on first glance. This idea of ascension seems highly esoteric and very bizarre, but the point is there's a thread of information that says the same thing. It comes through all these different sources. It's in the Casey readings, revealed teachings. It shows up all over the place. At the same time, in fact, let's jump ahead to that, because this is a good place to do that. Let me go ahead and grab this. We're going to move it. Give me just a second, you guys. See, I get to do that. I get to have that kind of great stuff going on. So, okay. Spontaneously editing the show is a fun thing to do sometimes. So as I was reading about the Law of One, it was giving me this insight. One of the main points it kept coming up to was that we were going to go into something it called fourth density. And it said that this would change the very nature of what it means to be human, that we would become actualized with incredible abilities, and that these abilities would include things like levitation, telekinesis, telepathy, and all the stuff that Jesus seems to have promised in the Bible. So it was like, wow, what a fascinating reveal to see all this stuff showing up in these different sources at the same time. And the Law of One had it in there, and I also found it again in books on the UFO phenomenon, various other UFO contactees. This concept of ascension seems to be a very popular theme that we see over and over again. Judy Booth donated $20, says, thank you, David. Linda Kiesling, my feed is glitching uncontrollably. I need to sign out. Yeah, just reboot the system and that'll work out. Yes, we did hear about the church shooting today. It's very sad. Grand Blanc, Michigan. I'm trying to hold a good, positive unity consciousness down for us. So, we're doing the best we can. I would love to be able to get myself out to Sedona. That is the goal. That is the dream. We're going to work on that as best we can. So anyway, pickle juice will help, says Kristen Kane. Anyway, so the Law of One was talking about this fourth density shift, and at the same time, I'm reading books about the UFO phenomenon. And one of them wasn't really a UFO book. It was Fingerprints of the Gods by Graham Hancock. So I was also reading about ancient civilizations, and that ultimately led to having many, many episodes of Ancient Aliens. I mean, well over 100 of them. And they still air all the time on television, which is amazing. So the Ancient Aliens episodes, we focus on pyramids, Stonehenge, ancient monuments, all that kind of stuff. So Graham Hancock's book, Fingerprints of the Gods, was sort of like the ultimate exploration of ancient teachings and ancient wisdom, and the idea that there might have been a lost civilization, like the concept of Atlantis. And he was even speculating that the idea of Atlantis being in the middle of a huge ocean and then sinking, that this turned into Antarctica, that there was a tsunami that went over Atlantis and it froze everything under ice, and then it became the South Pole and became the ice cap. In this same book, he profiled the work of two historians, Giorgio de Santillana and Hertha von Deschend. And they described that 35 different ancient traditions were all predicting some type of weird ascension event. Again, the same concept that humans are going to change form. So all these different ancient contacts, like religious contacts, spiritual contacts, you have the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the Zend-Avesta, Zoroastrian text. They're all interconnected, and they all have these number codes in them from 35 different ancient traditions, number codes and symbol codes, correlating with an Earth cycle of 25,920 years. And their conclusion was that at the end of the cycle, there's some sort of energetic transformation, which is partly gradual, but also leads up to a type of solar flash. So this is believed to be what it is. The Earth is wobbling in a counter-rotating direction. It takes 25,920 years to complete. And these are the two scholars that did this, de Santillana, von Deschend. So here's their book. And you can see there that they've got the idea of the world tree coming out of the Earth. This is apparently one of the myths they said was related to the Earth's axis. So this is what Graham Hancock had to write about this. It's so fascinating. For some inexplicable reason and at some unknown date, it seems that certain archaic myths from all over the world were co-opted, no other word will really do, to serve as vehicles for a body of complex technical data. And there's 35 traditions concerning the precession of the equinoxes. That's that weird Earth cycle, 25,000 years, again. So this is one of the most common forms of it, the idea of a grain mill, where what are we seeing here? We have a millstone. That's the vertical thing that looks like a wheel, and it's on an axle, and it's grinding up grain inside this stone tub, and the axle is at the top there. So the stone tub is holding the grain. You grind the stone around, and gradually it turns into flour, which allows you to make, pastries and tasty things. And this apparently was a technology that, according to Graham Hancock's speculation and others, that perhaps extraterrestrial beings were teaching us how to grow and cultivate grain. They might have even brought the grain from their own planets. Chris Harju says, "You have the sweetest demeanor. Thank you for all you do." And she donated $5. Thank you very, very much. Inspiring lucid thought. This is a major cycle, and we are culminating as multiple cycles collide. David, I humbly request for a hippie character to balance out Angry Daddy. Well, if I feel up to it, we'll do it, but right now I'm just working the slides. So again, the idea is that there's this grain mill, and here you see the axle going up into the ceiling. The axis of the Earth, it actually breaks in many of these religious traditions, the spiritual traditions. That's one of the funny things that seems to happen. And again, this seems to relate to the idea of the pole shift, the catastrophic Earth change. The idea that the Earth tips on its axis, like with Atlantis. Something bad happens. It's in the Bible, the concept of tribulation. Other ancient spiritual teachings have the concept of a catastrophic, bad type of event as well. When my own KC type of contact finally came in, and I used these exacting remote viewing protocols to get it, it said, no, it's going to be gradual, and it's going to happen without any catastrophic change. And I didn't learn about this until really the end of 2021, as I started to unseal everything. And then in 2022, I got really focused on putting these books out. And Lisa Dawn Marble just donated $20. Thank you very much. That is your first super chat on a live stream. A dazzling dream, says John Patrick. Trust the plan. So yes, this is the concept of the grain mill. And here's what he has to say. The original Hamlet, or Amlodi, as his name was in Icelandic legend, is an elusive carrier of fate who must yield once his mission is accomplished and sink once more into concealment in the depths of time to which he belongs. He is the Lord of the Golden Age. He is the once and future king. So they follow this character through many different religious and spiritual teachings, from the Northland to Rome, Finland, Iran, and India. He appears again unmistakably in Polynesian legend. This is like the hero's journey, and it keeps showing up in these different ways, in these different places, showing up over and over and over again. This imagery stands for an astronomical process, the secular shifting of the sun through the signs of the zodiac, determining world ages, each numbering thousands of years. Each age brings a world era, a twilight of the gods, great structures collapse, pillars topple that supported the great fabric, and floods and cataclysms herald the shaping of a new world. As we follow the clues, stars, numbers, colors, plants, forms, verse, and structures, a huge framework of connections is revealed at many levels, 35 different ancient traditions. So again, what he's saying is the structures and pillars collapsing in these mythologies have to do with the idea of catastrophic earth changes. That's what they're trying to correlate it with. This is a true edifice, something like a mathematical matrix, a world image that fits many levels, all of it kept in order by strict measure. So there you go. The Graham Hancock material on the 35 ancient traditions was something that was discussed on the Art Bell Show, very popular at the time. It absolutely blew my mind. It absolutely changed my whole reality to learn about this. And at the same time, you know, it's like, well, is it true? Could there be some way in which our planet is going to go through this spontaneous or fairly spontaneous evolutionary shift? And I believe the answer is yes. So that's always been the core of my work. That's the focus of Ascension, the focus on the idea that, yes, there is going to be a change, there's going to be a transformation. And, you know, I love it. I love looking at this stuff. I love these speculations. I love reading about these things and learning what there is to know. It is a beautiful thing to me to see that Ascension could be real. The idea that such a weird, esoteric, fantasy kind of concept could be real. So Sidney Mansfield says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes shall have not died but have eternal life." That's right. James is cool. "My father dated a girl from Sedona growing up. He could have kept her. He couldn't keep her, but she was the best person ever. I love that place." So yes, life is really good, and I'm so excited about Ascension. I'm so excited about what's happening to our world and where this is taking us, and what's the big picture here. You know, there's all these different components to this. At the same time that I was reading The Law of One, I was listening to the Art Bell Show. We had stunning insider testimony come through Dr. Stephen Greer. In fact, 35 different insiders came forward at the National Press Club on May 10th. It's supposed to be, yeah, I said May 20th. It's actually May 10th. Or maybe the original one was May 9th. I was there on May 10th. That's what happened. I ended up getting to go there on May 10th, and I met many of the insiders at the event and thereafter. And so that began the other part of my career, which is talking to people who claim to be part of some weird government secret program, like the concept of Area 51, like the concept that Roswell really happened, and there was a Roswell crash, and beings came out, and EB was one of them, apparently. And apparently we've seen that EB said there was going to be some major change in the year 2025. So, you know, we're seeing that change happening right now. And it doesn't mean that all of these prophecies will come true in 2025. I don't know. But we're definitely building up to a climax. We heard about the idea of a scare event. We're seeing something like that taking place now. And so it's very important, again, that we work on healing our shadow, that we not indulge in fear. We don't want to indulge in negativity. We don't want to indulge in feeling like all is lost and that we're hopeless and that there's no way out. We want to be able to live in trust and feel that sense of satisfaction that comes from knowing that we're going to be okay. The world is going to be okay. We're not going to be blown away by some solar flash or pole shift or anything like that. It's actually turning out in a very positive fashion. So these insiders were apparently dealing directly, face to face, with extraterrestrial beings. And again, I find this just incredibly fascinating. And we hear that some of the ETs are negative, but that others are very positive. So some of the insiders describe, again, human-looking beings, that in Area 51, places like this, you may interact with them directly, and they're very Christian, and they're very positive. And so it is possible that we're not alone in the universe, and these beings do apparently show up at certain points with certain people in the military-industrial complex, and in the future, they may show up for everyone. We may get some type of first contact on a planetary level. And again, this is a big picture that very few people ever get to see. But if you talk to people on the inside, they have already interacted with these beings, and it's a common part of aerospace. So I've been fortunate over the years to meet with many different people who said this. I've also had a variety of individuals come up and claim that this was happening, and then it turns out that it really wasn't the case. But again, there are enough of them that proved out what they had to say that I feel confident that something is really going on. And I do think that we are heading towards some type of disclosure event where we will be told the truth. And that disclosure is very much correlated with the idea of dismantling the secrecy apparatus. That's the main thing I'm interested in, is let's not keep this a secret anymore. We want the truth. We want to know what's really going on. Sean Hines donated $10. And what was the solar beam for 10 minutes over Colorado? I don't know. Heal your shadow. How great is this concept? When we heal our shadow, then we can ascend. No fear, no hate, no anger, no jealousy. Open mind, respect, and love, says MJF. That's right. If you actually study healing in the Law of One, healing and ascension are said as the same thing. Once you become fully healed, you have ascended. Ascension is healing. They literally are the same concept. The two ideas are actually one and the same. So healing your shadow, the light is thrown upon the shadow, the light body, that's your ascension. The Law of One does tell us very specifically that we're moving into this so-called fourth density, which is a type of heaven on earth scenario. This is similar to what the Casey reading said. And this is what the Law of One actually said about it. I don't usually quote this very often, but it's quite beautiful. Session 16, question 50, because this was all Q&A, it says, is it possible for you to give a small description of the conditions in fourth density? And the source says, we ask you to consider as we speak that there are no words for positively describing fourth density. We can only explain what is not, and we can only approximate what is. So it's such a distinctive change in beingness that they don't even have the ability, that this source doesn't have the ability to show us exactly what it would be in words. We can only approximate what's going to happen. Beyond fourth density, our ability grows more limited still until we become without words. That which fourth density is not. It is not of words unless the words are chosen. It is not of heavy chemical vehicles for body complex activities, which again, that would imply the physical body that we have now. They call it a heavy chemical vehicle because it's made out of elements and chemicals, so it's more like a light body. It is not of any disharmony within the self. It is not of disharmony within peoples. It is not within any limit of possibility. Wow. It is not within any limits of possibility to cause disharmony in any way. Wouldn't that be nice compared to the way things are now? It sure as heck would. And so this is the core prophecy right here, that there's no disharmony. It's an incredibly euphoric, blissful realm. It sounds like our concept of heaven, and so it would literally be like a heaven on earth. And you don't have words unless you choose them. It's all telepathic communication. You don't have a heavy physical body. You could make one if you want. You can project. I guess that's what fifth density does, not so much fourth. But this is all stuff it says, again, in this esoteric revealed teaching. Approximations of positive statements. It is a plane of a type of bipedal that's 2 feet, bipedal vehicle like a body, which is much denser and more full of life. I guess that would be light energy. It is a plane wherein one is aware of the thoughts of other people. It is or other selves, because again, they make that distinction. It is a plane wherein one is aware of the vibrations of other selves. It is a plane where it is a plane of compassion and understanding of the sorrows of third density. Better believe that. It is a plane striving towards wisdom or light. It is a plane wherein individual differences are pronounced, although they are automatically harmonized by a group consensus. And so this is just another step in our journey back towards the oneness. We're going back towards oneness, and as we go along the way, we have each individual stage getting us closer to the infinite creator. So even at the fourth density, you have a light body, you can't cause disharmony in any way, you're aware of other people's vibrations, you don't need to speak, and yet you have fifth density, sixth density, seventh density. Each of these goes even farther in the continuum of beingness. So it's a very, very populated universe with spirit beings, and they're all here trying to help us through this evolutionary curve that we have in the third dimensional reality, which can be very, very intense, very traumatic, very destructive to us. And, you know, we've all had experiences that can be very intense. And again, healing your shadow is so important to learn that there is a greater reality that loves you and trusts and supports you and is going to keep you safe no matter what. So the law of one has a lot of discussion about the idea of catalyst, which is basically like any experience that gives you learning experience. And so catalyst often comes in the form of stress. So like what we're going through right now as a planet, these rumblings of World War III, oh, let's take back the land, let's do this, let's do that, let's shoot down these planes. You know, I believe that there's something going on here that isn't just doom and gloom. I believe that there is, again, maybe a scare event coming in, as we said before. And in the meantime, you know, we had this terrible shooting today. It's so tragic what you guys have been telling me about in the comments here. I could be misremembering, but I think the term Galactic Federation is from the deep state. Well, no, I mean, you know, there's different people that have used that term. It's come out in different ways. Thank you to our galactic family and others who are helping to save humanity. So seventh density, we are no longer, so let's talk, we could talk a little bit more about the densities. So in fourth density, you still have a body, but it's a light body. In fifth density, apparently you become like an orb of light, but you know, now you've got the wisdom incorporated with your unconditional love. So fourth density has unconditional love, but it lacks wisdom. In fifth density, that correlates with the throat chakra. You're now having the wisdom come back in. Sixth density, you're unifying love and wisdom. It's the indigo ray. And then seventh density is the sacramental nature of all things. So by the time you get to seventh density, well, let's even go back further. Even a sixth density being is now sort of like a positive concept of an entire planet worth of beings like us that have all fused into a single identity that they call a social memory complex. So that doesn't happen in 5D. In 5D, you still have kind of an individuated self-body, so to speak. Kwan Hong Chan donated another $250 of Hong Kong money. He says, I've asked enough questions today, nothing to ask you here. It's about to get very late where I am, so I'm going to sign out soon. Thank you for staying up for us, buddy. As for cool things and dreams, I saw gold coins drop into my hands when I was about to from a vending machine. Nothing prophetic. Yeah, I mean, gold is a very positive symbol in dreams, and it means that you're activating your light body, the golden ray body, the golden body, all that kind of stuff. So again, thank you, Kwan Hong Chan. Come on back later on. We'll be waiting here for you. The show will still be on the air, and I'm happy about it. In fact, maybe we'll do some re-uploads on this one and the one before. That could be good. LMG philanthropy, at what level could we talk to squirrels? Probably, I would say fourth density is where that would start to be possible. But again, The densities are a very, very complex subject. It's kind of far beyond the scope of what we have here. I'm already getting really tired right now. So we may actually carry on with the rest of our slides pretty soon thereafter. But holy shnikes, a ship on par with the size of the moon, says John Patrick. Yeah, that's one of the things we've heard from the insiders, is that the moon is, apparently an ancient build out that, various Area 51 people, that's one of the rumors that you hear, is that you can go inside the moon and there's actually like 10,000 floors worth of habitable space in there that was built by somebody a long time ago. And the moon can be piloted. And then the other funny thing you hear is that George Lucas was read in on this a little bit, and that's basically what the Death Star is. It's a similar concept that we've heard. Deborah says we are going from a carbon-based body to a crystalline body in unity consciousness. So again, cool stuff. These are all really valuable concepts that have led me through a lot of dark nights of the soul. And so many people have said that this work touches them and it raises their vibration, it raises their consciousness. I've had people telling me over and over again how much my work means to them, how much it's changed their life. It gave them a spiritual purpose, made them feel more loving, more peaceful, more alive. And that's good. The idea is, again, embracing your shadow is a very, very important practice. And healing your shadow. So catalyst is what the Law of One calls stressful events. And the idea is you want to use those to push towards greater love. Healing your shadow is ascension. Healing and ascension are the same thing in the Law of One. And that's what makes this all possible. And everything is created by the original thought, which is love. So this is the encapsulation of the Law of One philosophy right here. Let us for a moment consider thought. What is it, my friends, to take thought? Took you then thought today? What thoughts did you think today? What thoughts were part of the original thought today? In how many of your thoughts did the creation abide? Was love contained? And was service freely given? There you go. That's the core of the teaching. You are not part of a material universe. You are part of a thought. You are dancing in a ballroom in which there is no material. You are dancing thoughts. You move your body, your mind, and your spirit in somewhat eccentric patterns, for you have not completely grasped the concept that you are part of the original thought. The one original thought is the harvest of all previous, if you would use this term, because there's no real linear time, experience of the Creator by the Creator. As it decides to know itself, it generates itself into that plenum, full of the glory and the power of the one infinite Creator, which is manifested to your perceptions as space or outer space. Isn't that just breathtaking? I mean, just look at that for a minute. Think about this. Meditate on this. Outer space, as we know it, is projected thought, full of the glory and power of the one infinite Creator, into outer space. And so no matter how scary and deadly and threatening life can seem to be on Earth, there is something greater. There's an intrinsic reality that we all live in that is so much greater than that, and we're all connected by it. Each generation of this knowing begets a knowing which has the capacity through free will to choose methods of knowing itself. Therefore, gradually, step by step, the Creator becomes that which may know itself, and the portions of the Creator partake less purely in the power of the original word or thought. And there again, word is logos. This is for the purpose of refinement of the one original thought. The Creator does not properly create as much as it experiences itself. Isn't that beautiful? The Creator experiences itself. And we are co-creating with the one infinite Creator. And the most important thing it's trying to steer us towards is love. Love is the bottom line of the energy of creation that makes the universe. So it's a very accessible teaching in that sense. There's nothing hidden or weird about it. It's just, yeah, love is the answer. And we are transforming the planet with the power of love. The law of one says that love creates a healing, radiant energy, which affects our own bodies as well as those of others. So let's take a look at this a little bit. How does this actually work? Well, we go back to the work of Dr. Glenn Ryan. This radiant energy actually directly affects your DNA molecule. And so I just looked this up today, again, yesterday rather, and this is on Institute of Heart Math, modulation of DNA conformation by heart-focused intention. Now, even good old Google, okay, there's Roland McCready, Mike Atkinson, and Dana Tomasino. Even good old Google, if you ask, okay, what about the idea of Dr. Glenn Ryan's research on DNA? This is what it actually says in the AI overview. Dr. Glenn Ryan's DNA experiment conducted at the HeartMath Research Center involved using trained individuals to influence DNA samples that were held in vials. The key finding was that heart-focused intentions, combined with strong positive emotions such as love, could alter the conformation or shape of DNA, causing it to unwind or rewind. Well, the important point is that when DNA unwinds, it dies. And when DNA rewinds, it heals. So like if you poison DNA or if you hit it with radiation or something like that, it cracks open, the molecule comes apart. People were able to use heart-focused intention and strong positive emotion and actually heal the DNA molecule. Even the Google AI is admitting, as of today, it'll probably change now that I did this, but it's admitting that this is true, causing it to unwind or rewind. The experiment demonstrated that both conscious intention and elevated emotions were necessary. Positive feelings acting as the catalyst, look at that, they use the same word the law of one does, for the intended effect. So let's just see what you guys have to say right now. It's a miracle production, says David, you look younger. Your skin looks great. Is something happening to you physically? Well, I don't know. I'm just doing the best that I can. But we have no idea how powerful we are, says Nick Sasma. My feed just glitched, says John Patrick. Yeah, it happens occasionally. But pyramids were built using thought technology, says Frequency 963. We can do that too if we would just believe. Cadence S says, when you heal your shadow, the light within your own soul becomes stronger and you can walk both with the light and the shadow without being interfered with by the shadow because your light is stronger. That's right. I mean, I really want to give you guys the tools because, again, if we're heading into scare events, if we're heading into escalation, if all these generals are meeting and all this weird stuff is going on, it's like, you know, things could get a little hairy. Things could get a little squirrely here. And so, you know, I've got my own challenges that I'm working on, but at the same time, I want you to be focused on, this is your homework assignment, focused on that loving consciousness, because again, what are we seeing? Somebody else's DNA, this wasn't even your own tissue sample, somebody else's DNA can be healed by loving intention. I mean, why is this not more public? Why is this not more known? Conscious intention and elevated emotions were necessary, and it actually creates this rewinding effect. So, the experiment details to test the ability of healers to influence biological systems using DNA as a stable and measurable target. And by the way that you can tell what DNA is doing, I think it's 280 nanometers. I forget whether it's 260 or 280. We'll go with 280. 280 nanometer light can be shined into DNA, and depending on how much the light is absorbed, that shows you how wound up the DNA is. When the DNA is more wound, it absorbs more of the 280 nanometer light. When the DNA is unwound and it's dead, it absorbs less 280 nanometer light. So going back to that previous graph there, going back to that previous graph that you see there on the top left, you see on the bottom it says wavelength, and that would be in lambdas, I guess. And then there it is right there. Yep, you can see if you zoom in really close with your eyes, I can see it on my screen. The 280 nanometers is where it goes, where those curves go the highest. And so people can create more or less of that light absorption by their loving intention. And that's how you tell in real time, well, the DNA is alive, whether it's wound up or unwound. It's a really, really breathtaking study. it should be like the bread and butter of everybody who teaches metaphysics. In my view, Dr. Glenn Ryan is like one of the all-time greats of this whole movement. And again, the positive feelings, the loving consciousness that you send in is of critical importance in making sure that this actually works right, getting it to actually happen. Trained participants held vials of DNA suspended in water. They focused their minds with clear intentions, either to unwind or rewind the DNA strands. Crucially, the intentions were accompanied by strong, elevated emotions like love and appreciation. DNA samples showed statistically significant changes in their winding or conformation. The DNA was observed to unwind or rewind by up to 25%. But if you don't have the loving emotion, if you don't have the healing experience, if you don't have that melting influence of love that creates the healing, that heals your shadow, then you don't get the effect. And this is also like, why in prayer, if you want to do the planet healing meditation, you really want to focus on amping up the love energy and getting it as high up as you can. It's a very, very important point to do that. And so this in our level is what we're seeing, but then in the higher levels, apparently these angelic beings will send us loving energy to heal us. And so we are surrounded by multidimensional consciousness. According to the law of one, esoteric philosophy, these multidimensional beings are sending us loving energy that can heal us, and we just have to allow them to do that by being willing to act in a loving way. And, forgiveness is the key. One of the most important principles of the law of one is forgiveness. In forgiveness lies the stopping of the wheel of karma. It's a beautiful, beautiful teaching. So, key conclusion, Dr. Ryan's experiment suggests that the combination of a clear intention and the energetic force of positive emotion can influence and change biological matter. This highlights the interconnectedness of the mind and the heart in creating a powerful effect on the physical world. So, again, the energetic force of positive emotion changes biological matter. That is so huge, and again, I hope that doing a show like this doesn't change the AI and what it's going to tell you. It might. But David Coron says, thanks to you, David, I am calm in the storm. I feel the love, says Trad. Davy Joe Weaver, we live each day. Life is heaven on earth. By doing this, it is so. Our DNA is being altered. Heartfelt thanks, Angry Casey Daddy, Davy Joe, and PA. Thank you very much, Davy Joe. So, this is really what the core of the teaching is about. And again, the DNA was observed to unwind or rewind by up to 25%. So here's the original slides that I made on this. The cells that were used were from a human placenta, and people were trained in accurately creating these loving emotions. It was a special technique they called the freeze technique, freeze frame, where you freeze this emotion of love. Now, Glenn Ryan, I talked to him about this, and it is true that in certain cases people were feeling anger and that the cells would actually unwind and die. So that they don't usually talk about that part as much, but it is part of it. And that's very important because you don't want to be sending out that kind of energy. It can hurt people. When people feel love, the DNA actually rewound and healed a molecule that was otherwise, quote unquote, dead. This demonstrates that vital energy can be transferred between human beings, that angry and aggressive people could actually absorb your vital energy, which you don't really want that. And so somebody else's DNA could wither in the presence of anger in the lab. It's shocking, really. This may be a genetic holdover from the animal kingdom for survival, where the survival of the fittest actually shows that aggressive species are the ones that succeed. We want to get beyond this, right? The alpha male might be drawing energy from the group that he's protecting as he's strengthening himself for war. The teams are more likely to win at their home games. Yes, this is the whole concept of an energy vampire. That's true. And this is why you don't want to get into this, because this creates bad karma. So there are many, many other scientific studies that reveal this same mind-body connection as well. And it goes far beyond that, and that's a big focus of my life that I've covered for so many years, and I've done so much on this. But right for now, we're gonna skip through those because it's getting late here. Whoops. And let's see. Hold on a second. what do we want to talk about? We wanted to try to get, I promised you a discussion. Well, yeah, we can come back to that for another show. Okay. This one is a good one to go into, though. Let's do this one real quick. Along the same lines of what we saw from Dr. Glenn Ryan, we have Dr. Daniel Benor. And he did some very fascinating research into spiritual healing, scientific validation of a healing revolution. And here you go, he's an MD, and he did a meta-analysis of 191 different scientific studies of people saying they were doing spiritual healing. Now, this could include things like laying on of hands. It could include, healing blue-green algae, healing, like all these different studies where people tried to heal living tissue of various kinds. It could be somebody in California meditating to heal somebody in New York. It could be healing flowers. It could be anything. And out of 191 studies that he found, and some of these people weren't even aware they were being part of a study, the people who were being healed, and again, sometimes conducted at distance coast to coast, he discovered that fully 64% of 191 different studies demonstrated profound healing results. So that's, again, Dr. Daniel Benor, a very fascinating discovery that totally lines up with Dr. Glenn Ryan, showing that this actually works in the field. And so, again, the concept of today's show is healing your shadow. The Glenn Ryan discovery is all about how you get that energetic, loving vibration. You create that loving vibration. You create that healing for yourself. And then other people can see that too. So this is a very, very fascinating teaching. And it really emphasizes to me how much work we have to do to be fully in our power, to be fully alive. You want to stay in that loving consciousness. And I think it's going to get more challenging, folks. I think we're going to have challenges to our loving consciousness coming up. The meeting of these generals, indictments coming in, there's disturbing information coming out, there's shootings going on, World War III rumblings. This is the time that we really want to focus, we really want to turn within and seek how we can go beyond what we were already looking at and get into a greater expanded view. So the negative experiences we go through in the Law of One are often called catalyst, and we're going to talk about that a little bit now. The shadow is the part of us that resists the oneness, and the catalyst is what forces the shadow into view. So we're having planetary catalyst right now as all these negative things are happening. Again, the horrific loss of Charlie Kirk being just one of many examples. This is a catalyst that forces you to look within. It doesn't always do that. It creates a healing opportunity that may or may not be used. This is a very important point in the Law of One. So you may not use the catalyst. You may not be able to process when something bad happens to you. You may not be able to use it in a way that creates healing. So healing your shadow is, again, learning how to embrace catalyst. Well, what is catalyst? Essentially, it seems to be stressful experiences. And the Law of One says that catalyst can be processed. The best way to process catalyst actually is through forgiveness and love, because this stops the wheel of karma. So it was a very powerful thing. I mean, again, I'm kind of amazed that Charlie Kirk's wife came out and said that she forgave the attacker. It was just, I mean, yeah, some people might say, oh, that's just a Christian trope, but no. For somebody to get up there on stage, having been married to him, and say that was an amazing thing. And again, I really do believe this is the core teaching. It's a difficult teaching to embrace, and I totally understand that, but it is something to aspire to and something to really feel good about. So healing your shadow, again, creating that loving consciousness. If you don't have the loving consciousness, if you're not creating that vibrant emotion, then you're not really tapping into this healing the way that you could. So positive changes can result. And the Law of One actually says that cancer and various health problems can happen if you're not processing your catalyst. So let's talk about this for a minute. Has the vibration of the basic photon that makes up all of physical matter increased in frequency? This is the idea of the fourth density shift, that matter's vibration is going up. We could talk about that extensively. And they say this is correct. It is this influence which begins to cause thoughts to become things. As an example, you may observe thoughts of anger becoming cells of your physical body going out of control to grow into what you call cancer. So if you don't process the anger, if you don't integrate your catalyst, then you can end up with cancer. He says, you mentioned thoughts of anger are now causing cancer. Can you expand on this mechanism as it acts as a catalyst or its complete purpose? And they say the fourth density is one of revealed information. Selves are not hidden to self or other selves. The imbalances or distortions which are of a destructive nature show, therefore, in more obvious ways, the vehicle of the person or mind-body-spirit complex, because again, you're much more than just a body, thus acting as a teaching resource for self-revelation. Illnesses such as cancer are correspondingly very amenable to self-healing once the mechanism of the destructive influence of anger has been grasped by the individual. So you really don't want to dwell in negativity. You really don't want to dwell in anger. You really don't want to dwell in fear either, anxiety. If it's at all possible, you want to elevate above that, get back into that loving consciousness, and again, healing and ascension, the law of one says, are the same thing. Isn't this a fascinating concept? James is cool, says Erica Kirk had to forgive him to end the wheel of karma. That is true. Jesse Lee Peterson forgiving the mother. Yeah, I had wonderful, wonderful healing with my mother going on. Timbo said, my dad was a constant worrier, and I think that fed his cancer. It absolutely could. Kick Dreaming says, dwell in gratitude and love. Frequency 963, forgiveness needs healthy boundaries or we become naive. I really do agree with that. Hi, David. George Smith says, hope you are well. What do you think of letting go of the spiritual ego? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by the term spiritual ego, but you know, the law of one doesn't even want to use the term ego. They use the term personality self. And yeah, we can all have distortions of the personality self. And the idea, again, is to try to be as loving and inclusive towards others as possible. Gizmo's mom, no fear, no anxiety, no anger. It's not that there's no fear or no anxiety, but you work on it and you find your way through it and you find your way back to a place of peace once again. You process the catalyst, you integrate the catalyst, you try to move beyond it. Shadow work leads to peace, says Charlie Winter. Yeah, that's what we're really trying to do here on a very, very large scale level. Forgiveness is a central concept in Course in Miracles. Yes, it is. So, moving on. The entity polarizing positively perceives the anger. This entity, if using catalyst mentally, blesses and loves the anger in itself. It then intensifies this anger consciously in mind alone until the folly of this red ray energy is perceived not as folly in itself, but as energy subject to spiritual entropy due to the randomness of energy being used. So spiritual entropy means, you know, things that are falling off and not part of the one infinite consciousness per se. It's a distortion of that energy. So again, the foolishness of the red ray anger energy needs to be seen. Positive orientation then provides the will and the faith, so important, having the faith to continue this mentally intense experience of letting your anger be understood, accepted, and integrated within your mind-body-spirit complex. So important. The other self, who is the object of your anger, is thus transformed into an object of acceptance, understanding, and accommodation, all being reintegrated using the great energy that the anger began with in the first place. The negatively oriented mind-body-spirit complex uses anger in a similarly conscious fashion. This is, again, a negatively polarized being. It refuses to accept undirected or random energy of anger, and through the use of its own will and faith, funnels energy into a practical means of venting negative emotions so as to obtain control over other selves. Isn't that interesting? Or otherwise control the situation that is causing anger. Control is the key to the negatively polarized use of catalyst. Acceptance is the key to the positively polarized use of catalyst. Between these polarities lies the potential for this random and undirected energy creating a bodily complex analog of what you call cancerous growth of tissue. So that is so important. One of the most important law of one teachings, right? That control is the negative path, acceptance is the positive path. And the most important acceptance that we really need to work on is self-acceptance, the acceptance of ourselves as we are, the ability to love yourself, the ability to open your heart, to live in that purity, in that sense of all abundant love. Just like Glenn Ryan's research showed, it's this radiant energy. And again, healing is ascension in the law of one. They're one and the same. Now, the law of one doesn't actually say this per se, but from the implications of what the law of one says, and they often use the word useful, we came up with this short little phrase, catalyst will repeat until it is no longer useful. This is one of the most critical distilled law of one teachings, the idea that catalyst represents these stressful negative experiences, and it's useful to you if it creates movement in consciousness. Movement in consciousness is a very important concept, okay? Because if catalyst, if your consciousness is not always in a loving state, in pure unconditional love and acceptance, right? Acceptance is the key to positive catalyst. If you're not dwelling in acceptance all the time, then what ends up happening is that you are now experiencing movement in consciousness. If you move into anger, if you move into fear, if you move into anxiety, if you move out of the state of pure loving consciousness, which again, there's all these opportunities to do this. We had this big shooting happen today. You know, the loss of Charlie threw me into a really difficult place, and it still is in many ways. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough to have that happen, but like the idea is that you will continue to have. Roger Zubarik says, again, thank you, donate $20. Thank you, Roger. He's one of our greatest supporters. We love him. Thank you, Roger Zubarik. And look, he's got the amplituhedron, he's got that's the photograph of the photon there, so well done. So yeah, we're looking at the possibility of healing ourselves through healing the inner strife and the inner turmoil through acceptance. And if we don't have acceptance, if we move into anger, if we move into stress, if we move into sadness, then we get movement of consciousness. And that is considered useful. If an experience can cause your consciousness to move, the law of one defines that as a useful experience, which, you know, we really don't want useful experiences that are negative. But again, the idea is, can you move through that and get back to a place where you feel positive, where you feel the love that you really should have if you're on the positive path. And Lorraine Frechette said she had to hit the stop button, asked to step out for a while. Thank you so much, David. You're such an inspiration. I will pick up where I stopped when I return. Thank you again. Yeah, I'm really trying now in this show to give you some very intrinsic spiritual teachings. It's kind of a change in my focus away from getting so deeply into politics, because I'm trying to look at how I can best serve and still feel good at the same time. And so the slides that I was doing, I do feel they're very important, slides I was covering in the past, but man, it looks like we're heading really quickly into some kind of scare event situation. I don't know how soon it could be, but there's all these different things going on. And once indictments start to happen, we're probably going to see a lot more negativity from the opposite side. They're going to push back harder and harder. So this could really start to accelerate. And again, you know, spiritual teachings are where we really want to be putting the focus, so that even though, you know, we don't have a whole lot of views right now, 17,000 views, but that'll go up as time goes on. But the prayer power that we have, straw man, amazing show today, David, but I'm still waiting to hear you play your Stratocaster. Also following, yeah, well, we're not going to say that. I don't want to throw any shade on what happened with Charlie. You know, I do believe that this was a tragedy, and, you know, I just, my heart pours out to him and to his family and to everyone. And I personally don't want to get involved in speculating about who done it or whatever it might be, or is it more than just the the one guy, or, you know, whatever. I mean, it's out there. There's plenty of that stuff, but that's not how I feel I can serve in the highest capacity right now. I just don't want to delve into that. I want us to learn how to focus on unity, how to focus on getting along with each other, how to focus on being at peace with each other, living in love, living in harmony, learning to understand our differences. This is really what's going on. And Caton's S says there is an alchemical process that occurs when you realize or become aware of your shadow side, i.e. comparing yourself to others, generating envy, resentment transformed into accepting your uniqueness. That's right. So catalyst repeats until it is no longer useful, and if it creates movement in consciousness, then it's considered useful. So this is another big, big law of one teaching. Any event that moves your state of consciousness out of loving consciousness is considered useful if you're not in full self-realization. The point of this catalyst will repeat till it's no longer useful is that once you master an experience, the universe will no longer have you repeat it. And so the highest ascension teachings say that every thought has to become loving in nature. And this is so very, very important, you guys. It's really the core of everything that we're talking about. It's the core of this whole process. So moving on now, because we're basically out of time here, but let's see. So let's take a look here. I think we're going to get back into our prophetic readings next week. But there was one, so I'm going to work on the time loop and figure out where we want to go. But as I read through it, I realized that even that reading that I shared with you in Twitter, you know, it's got a lot of other stuff that's very personal and probably not something that I need to be putting out right now. Beverly Adams says, I cannot wait until we can all meet in person together. You and gents like Cryon have been keeping me sane for decades. It's coming together beautifully. And so she donated $10, and then Sandy Behringer donated $10 at the same time. It's like a field effect here. Karen Ackerman says, Charlie is not dead. He was just taken out of the game. That's right. There is no death in the grander sense. So again, we are at a point where things are really happening quickly, and it's good stuff. So let's see. Then this is one of my own prophetic readings. We're going to end with this because I think it's got some interesting stuff in it, and it shows the time loop did go on. We would like to say thank you for continuing to expand into a career motive that is in line with the discs in the sky and our desire for you to expand and develop like a child. Like America, we take protest evenly and understand that the whole securities and insurance business has to become something new if it wants to succeed. And these are, sometimes Michael speaks in paradox. And so for you to define heresy by limiting it to a few environmental stipulations here and there, you will indeed become aware of the entire process of shipbuilding once again. I guess this is talking about heading into this Star Trek age. Only now, it will be from the direct perspective of intimate participation instead of wondering how the world takes its tickets from you at each and every moment. And this, again, very nicely correlates with Stavati Aerospace. We're building ships, and we want to build spaceships in the future. Believe it or not, the femurs indicate that you are standing on your own quite admirably well, despite all the distractions we have experienced as of late. When one experiences a call, one already knows it is within the grasp of all participants involved to take stock in their earnings and revel in the knowledge that the train is coming into the station. This is all very symbolic. But again, this is another concept, the concept of the calling. These higher beings require us to pray for them to be able to help us at the highest level. David, which book should I read first? R.J. McKay Horton just donated $50. The Ascension Mysteries or Law of One. Thanks for all you do. Well, I would be biased into reading the Ascension Mysteries because, again, it's my product for sale and I really love it. But the Law of One is available at lawofone.info. You can read it for free on that website, so you don't have to pay for that. And getting the books, they're available at llresearch.org. And I think it's important to get book one because the introduction to book one is really, really important. And again, llresearch.org is their website, but you can read all the sessions on lawofone.info, and that's important. Stephen Thompson, I can't wait for the ascension when our bodies will be dense with crystalline energy and will be like angels to 3D beings. That's exactly what this source says. And again, it sounds really weird, but this is the basis of the work that I've been doing. Man, we are getting thunder coming in. I want to make sure I don't lose my connection here. Revel in the knowledge the train is coming into the station and the ship will soon be leaving its port. So again, they're telling us we're doing admirably well despite all these distractions. That's good. And they are experiencing a call. As again, remember in the previous show, the last time loop, it said that once everyone has their tears cried out of them, so to speak, the planet will be in a better place. Yes, that's really the core of embracing your shadow, facing that pain, facing that sadness, figuring out what it is that caused you to hurt, and then moving beyond it causes incredible, incredible healings to occur. Incredible. So that causes a calling. As we cry out for love, as we cry out for Jesus or God or Buddha or whatever our version of the Creator is, that is called a calling. As we pray, as we ask for God to forgive us, as we ask for God's acceptance and mercy, we have all of these wonderful things it starts to do that allow these beings to create miracles for us that would not have been possible before. We're opening up the possibility. Yes, for this particular week, we're not doing any of those other slides as Charlie was asking about that. It's just right now, this is where I need to be at because of the trauma that I've been through. And, you know, maybe in the future we'll get back to it, but I want to focus on honing in because I think we're heading into the scare events, and I think that right for now, it's just what makes me more comfortable and how I can best be of service, I believe. So we earn good karma by healing our shadow. We're earning that good karma, reveling in the knowledge the train is coming into the station, the ship will soon leave its port. That's obviously, again, talking about the Ascension prophecy. The form maker body, or Ka, from the indigo ray level is indeed prepared to make the final adjustments necessary for this transformation. It says in Law of One, that's the body that helps you move through ascension for each level. The dichotomy or split between the conscious and subconscious mind will be healed at the point of the levitation and ascension of the body. Isn't that something? So your subconscious and your conscious will now be fully unified. Until then, many physicists and scientists will not accept the possibility that such a truly defining act could become possible. And that is where you come in. And that's what I do, scientific proof. We have always said that were we never to have become involved, it would be impossible for the conditions on your planet to have made sense to you as a species. As you are aware, all of our efforts, and especially those in more recent times, have been geared towards subconsciously preparing the human race for its own ascension. That is why you have seen it emerge in so many different creative works of multitudinous varieties and types. So do not think of this as an exercise in futility. People are listening and paying attention, and one cannot gauge our success based on the relative number of hits to the website, or in this case, on my videos. There will be more opportunities soon enough. Although this helps us considerably, it is not where you need to be putting your focus at this time. The dam will break on its own, and you do need to be aware of this. More of your work should go towards completing the projects that are already opened, and you will see the results. Star Trek. That's how they ended it, okay? That's Star Trek will be the result. So it's a very beautiful, beautiful reading. So anyway, I'm really glad to have you guys here today, and I think we're going to close it out now with our global peace meditation. So that's how we like to end every show. We're just after the 3-hour mark, and so I've been told by my YouTube guy that, you know, if you go longer than 3 hours, people aren't as inclined to want to watch. So we're going to keep it to the 3-hour mark and be good to you guys and give you a little bit of a rest. So here we go. All right, let's close your eyes now. Take a nice deep breath. Breathe in loving consciousness and experience the joy of the stilling of the mind. slowing down the thoughts, and feeling that loving energy, that focus of love that can carry you through so much pain, anxiety, stress, and fear. Breathing into joy, breathing into radiant bliss and effervescent happiness. Going through all the layers, finding those places where things don't seem to make sense, and being honest, self-examination, looking at where you feel that you were trying too hard to control and were not necessarily working hard enough on acceptance and forgiveness. How have you tried to control yourself? How have you tried to repress emotions? Are there areas that you're not willing to look at because they're too painful? Are there things about yourself that you haven't wanted to see because it causes you to feel hurt inside? Can you look at those areas of pain? Can you look at those pain points and realize how fulfilled you are when you can get beyond your stress, get beyond your anger, get beyond your anxiety, your worry, and your fear, and move back into the knowingness that we are all in a living thought form, filled with radiant light, joyful abundance, filled with peace that surpasses understanding. Knowing all the while that this movement of consciousness away from loving energy only needs to happen until the catalyst is no longer useful. If someone were to look at you with shame, try to hurt your feelings, but you have enough self-confidence that it doesn't bother you, it rolls off your back, that catalyst is no longer useful. And then you will no longer need to be around those types of individuals who will cause this pain to you. Embracing your healing, living in the knowingness that your breath transcends physical reality, that you are rising above your own weaknesses and limitations that once seemed to define you. And you are truly learning how to become a loving, accepting being, not just of others, but also of yourself. Can you forgive yourself for those areas where you now see that you were stumbling and weak? Do you realize the ancient parable of the footprints? That in those moments where there were two sets of footprints that become one, that was the moment the Logos was carrying you in love. That you were being held with all the love and the safety and the security of a small child, embraced by a loving consciousness, by a loving Creator. That you were being carried through the darkest periods, the greatest strife, the most difficult lamentations, that you have never been alone. The universe is multidimensional. An 8-density structure, 8 different densities, an octave, the Law of One says. Each density, 1 through 7, having planes of existence, with 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, all having sentient beings that take you on a journey into your own selfhood. Feeling this radiance now, feeling it coursing through your body. The radiance that shows that you are atoning at one meant, atonement. Atoning for that which you have done that might have hurt yourself or others. Finding responsible ways to give back where you have fallen short, to make amends to those who you may have harmed, to rejuvenate your life, to heal your shadow. Learning how to put on the mantle of light through acceptance, forgiveness, and peace. Learning how to live in a life where you can be free of pain. Experiences that would have caused you pain no longer move your consciousness. You stay in your center. And you are actually healing your own DNA. Your DNA is filling like a well of beautiful, clear, clean water. Your DNA is filling with loving energy, loving photons. You are healing, winding up the molecule as you feel this smile gently drift across your face. The effortlessness of happiness that can come as you recognize who you really are. That though you may have felt lost in this maze, in this illusion, there is no concept of actual loss. There is only gain. For in the grander sense, you are becoming that which you already are. The earth is guiding us through, some may believe, a transformative ascension process, where each new day brings us new opportunities to integrate our catalyst, to integrate stressful experiences, to move beyond feelings of sadness, feelings of shame, feelings of regret, feelings of guilt, feelings of anger, feelings of anxiety, feelings of fear. Opening our hearts to an everlasting light that erases all shadow, because shadow cannot exist where there is light. Healing that shadow by activating your light body. Healing is ascension. Ascension is healing. Breathing into that healing, breathing in the concept of love, the concept of light. If any advertisements come up, just open up your eyes briefly, hit skip, and keep on going. It's okay. We're keeping you in the state. Everything's fine. It does happen sometimes. Staying in this moment with us now, staying in this moment of peace, staying in this moment of happiness, staying in this moment of joy. Breathing so effortlessly, just letting the lungs rise and fall however they might want. Feel yourself melting into the chair or melting into the bed. Feeling a deep, purposeful relaxation. Going ever more fully into acceptance, ever more fully into forgiveness, ever more fully into love. The radiant love of the Logos itself, the very energy that created you, rising, spiraling, creating new geometric thoughts, new ideas, new ways of being and existing. The train is leaving the station. This change is apparently happening. We have been reassured that our planet will be safe, that all is well. And that brings a certainty and a trust to each and every day as we move forward. No longer needing to fall prey to those who would seek to manipulate our naivete, our trust, Because that is another part of the shadow. When we don't love ourselves, we allow in those individuals who seek to manipulate, to lie to us, to control us, to deceive us, to take away our power. They become angry at us, but they don't tell us that's what they're doing. They instead transform that into tools for control. And we learn that they are playing games and playing in the shadows, telling us things that are not true, which most likely that's something we would never do. Can't speak for everybody, but when you're being lied to, when somebody is trying to manipulate you, playing on your greatest wishes, your greatest hopes, your greatest aspirations, it is so important to learn how to see beyond those false stories, to get to a deeper truth about yourself and about who and what you really are. Breathing in your healing now, breathing in your peace. And again, hitting skip if anything comes up, that's okay. You'll stay right here with me the whole time. You're not going out of trance. You're just staying in a nice meditation, a nice, easy, mind awake, body asleep type of state. Feeling yourself being joyful and radiant, climbing that staircase of the DNA spiral, the ladder to intelligent infinity. Can you feel that? Can you feel that love? Can you feel that warmth? Healing your DNA, winding it up. Can you feel any unhealthiness just melting out of your body? Almost like you just uncorked a bottle and you just allow it to slowly drain. And maybe you see it as a dark, thick liquid. Maybe it's something black or something, who knows, it could be another color. And you're just allowing all that pain, that sticky, stuck energy to just alleviate. And it's instead being filled with light, filled with love. Allowing yourself to just feel ever more peaceful now. So much light as you climb this staircase of the DNA molecule. Feeling yourself so enamored with the glory of what your life has become. Look at all you've accomplished. Look at what you've actually done. Be proud of yourself for the changes that you've made, the strides that you've accomplished, for the overwhelming glory that your life can be when you learn to love yourself and embrace the things that you didn't want to look at. Having that responsibility to feel at peace for so much. And knowing, as always, that you are the light. You are the love. You are the one infinite creator. And this is as it was, as it is now, and as it always shall be. And nothing and no one can ever take that from you. Father, Mother God, we thank you for this work today. We thank you for what we've done. And we ask for the peace of acceptance of ourselves and others, the forgiveness, the understanding, and the love, that we may confidently embrace our shadow, look at the things we haven't been facing, and find out responsible ways to heal ourselves. And in so doing, co-create the peaceful planet that we all wish to share. Adonai and Amen. All right. Wasn't that nice? Nice to have a little meditation once in a while. Great show, David. So thank you, and it is Amen. Inspiring Lucid Thought says, transcending and rising above the victim abuse mentality, rescue mentality, is foundational to being able to move into higher dimensional experience, since the victim in need of a rescue vibrates extremely low. I totally agree. Patriot Shepherdess says, David, this was a perfect show today. Thank you. I love your spiritual insights. The Archangel Michael readings are my favorite part of the show. That is awesome. Libby of the Light says, thank you, David, for your love and light. Your meditations bring me into a perfect state of self-loving consciousness. I appreciate your work. I wish I could donate. Sending you all the love you can handle. Scott Mandelker has 326 videos on the Law of One. Yes, he's great about that. A fantastic presentation today, says Thomas Flips. Good stuff. I think we all needed that. Thank you, says Angela. Will you release more meditation MP3s in your store? Maybe another one geared towards healing and peace. That would be a great idea. I think what I really need to do is launch, though. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Meditation brings a better quality out in your live stream. Irene says, amen. I cried most of the way. Love to all of you from Scotland. Miles Irvin, excellent meditation. Has Colin, if I may ask? Well, mate, Colin McGeezer is quite great. He's been living down in the bush where there's all kinds of dangerous, creepy animals that have sharp teeth capable of biting and claws. And even with the duck-billed platypus, he's got these spines on his feet, mate, and he just wants to jam them in and try to inject poison. You got to watch out for them little buggers, just like you got to watch out for them huntsman spiders, mate. They're huge and they run across the walls. It's terrifying. Yeah, so it's all fun stuff. Meditation with Colin. I just had a healing talk with my mom last night. Amazing, says Colin. Crocodile Dundee, kind of the same thing. Queensland, Australia. Amazing meditation, says Light Ray. Doreen Clark, beautiful meditation. Thank you, David. Love to you all. Frank Barter, positive vibes will change the world. Great meditation. Today was just perfect. The way you kept it on healing, that is excellent. Keep it going, says Suzanne Ariel Luna. Yeah, I mean, I really want to focus on what kind of healing can I create? What kind of positivity can I create? The spiritual message. I want to make sure that that's going out there now, because to me, the things that we're seeing, the rumblings that we're seeing, in fact, some news that just came out yesterday that was abuse related. Dude, that was so triggering just to read that. And that information that just came out, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but whoa. And it's like the kind of stories that are starting to emerge out in the news about what was happening. That's the kind of stuff that we were told we were going to be expecting. And now as I'm looking at it, I'm realizing, like, this is going to be really hard. That people, like, the idea the truth would put 99% of people in the hospital. Or the idea, like, people aren't going to want to get out of bed. Yeah, that kind of stuff is heading out. And I'm not trying to put in any fear, but I'm just saying that these tools of meditation, peaceful spirituality, peaceful understanding, they're very, very important. It's very important that we learn how to do this. Monica Kanagowski, we are called to a mission that the shadow work helps to clear density for more light to come to bring out our DNA, developing into the next version of our solar flash activation. Richard Whitney says, number 1, amen, David. Thank you for a perfect meditation and a great show. Yeah, you got one at the beginning, one at the end. Straw Man, absolutely amazing show and meditation. A must-see, pray for the healing of my beloved cat Charlotte. She has clear teeth infection abscess. Donald Barker, these tools of meditation are really great. Thank you so much for telling us all this. And it also heals me as well, When I do this for you guys, I'm also being healed. Much love and many blessings, Brother David and Angry Daddy, showing us how to be the change. This was great. Thank you so much, says Joe Cola Medici. I just reconnected with my dad last week for the first time in almost 2 years, says Michael Gordon. Inspiring lucid thought. I encourage all to donate, even if it's just $1. It's a thought that counts. Every little bit helps David get more time and capability to reach more people. It's absolutely right. So I want to thank you guys for being here. I think we're going to bring it up to about the 3 hour, 25 minute mark. I feel really good about the show. And also you guys are sending me healing energy as I do this. It goes both ways. So it's really nice. Suzanne Ariel Luna, this healing was so important. We need to keep focused on the healing. 2 of them is necessary, beginning and end. And then we have donation, £5. Good show. I'm off out to look at the stars. It's going nuts in the Northern Hemisphere in England. Thank you for the group meditation. It was amazing, says Harlan Bell. Palace Athena, loving the love you exchanged with us. You are awesome. Grateful for you. Thank you, says Rosa Scroza. You are the beacon. We know it's coming, says Marcia Wood. We haven't even gotten to the darkest part yet. That could be. It's already there. So, yes, we're going to try to keep up with the Alliance as much as we can, but I just have to work within what keeps me balanced right now. I hope you guys understand that. It's nothing personal. I understand some of you guys are sad about that, but most of you guys understand what needed to happen. Joanne Youngman says, thank you, David. I needed that meditation. God bless you. It was perfect. Sam Smith, love you all. Have a great week, everyone. Stay strong. I love you all very much. Caton S. says, if you have difficulty reaching the pain, start by saying how you feel. I feel sad, I feel sad, I feel sad, until you physically release emotions. That comes with self-compassion and forgiveness. Angels for us, thank you, David, so much. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. We will see you on the next show. This is David, and I hope to be with you next week. We will see you then. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now.